हाँ नहीं, लेकिन यहाँ तो कुछ शो नहीं कर रहा है। आ रहा है वहां पर आपको हमारा यहाँ का? अच्छा, आ गया आ गया आ गया। ओके ओके सर, स्टार्ट कर दीजिए। स्टार्ट कर दें? स्टार्ट कर दीजिए सर।
Hello everyone, myself Faizul Haq. I hope your UPSC paper went very well today. I am here to discuss the paper which was conducted by UPSC today. Along with my colleague, I will discuss all the questions, but I will be taking the economy sections. So first of all, let's see how many questions have been asked by the UPSC in this year economy. So let me tell you, this year they have asked 16 questions from the economy. Few questions were analytical, so you need to study thoroughly because these questions were analytical as well as conceptual. So mostly questions were from the banking, RBI, financial market. Let's see the questions and their probable solutions. I have tried to give you the best solution, but final answer key will be released by the UPSC, and as you know, this year they have deleted 3 questions. So let's hope we provide you the best solution. First question was regarding the investment. They have asked you what is alternative investment fund. See, there are 2 type of fund. One is traditional fund and another is alternative investment fund. So in traditional fund, generally we consider bond and stocks. So 1 and 2 can be easily eliminated. Alternative investment fund are those funds which are generally very risky and they have been pulled from the private investment. Generally venture capital, hedge fund, REITs, these are considered as alternative investment fund. There are many categories of alternative investment fund which I have taught you in the class also. So their alternative investment fund will be hedge fund as well as venture capital fund. So according to me, only 2 are correct. Hedge fund and venture capital fund are the alternative investment fund. So answer would be only 2. Now come to the next question. They have asked regarding the RBI. See, RBI is very important for UPSC. They generally ask question from RBI also. They have asked ki, what are the sources of income for the RBI? Means from where RBI earn money. So RBI earn money by selling government bond and buying government bond. See, government bond are those bond which are issued by the RBI on the behalf of the government to raise the money for the government. So government bond are a fixed instrument bond. So by selling by buying government securities, RBI earn money. See, for example, if this is the government security of 100 rupee, so there will be an interest rate, for example 10% of interest rate. So whenever RBI will buy or sell the security, RBI will earn money from this 10% interest rate, if we take the 10% interest rate into picture. Next is buying and selling foreign currency. Buying and selling foreign currency also generate income for the RBI. See how? For example, when RBI purchased the dollar, it was $1 is equal to 70 rupee. But when RBI sold the dollar, it was $1 is equal to 80 rupee. So from here RBI can also earn money, 10 rupee. You can see that. Pension fund management. See, you can very easily eliminate this. Pension fund is managed by the PFRDA, not by the RB, not by the RBI. So you can easily eliminate 3. So this option can be eliminated. 1 is correct and 2 is correct. So this can also be eliminated. So we are left with A and D. So RBI also earn money by printing and distributing currency. See, suppose RBI print a currency having face value 100 rupee, but the cost of printing these 100 rupee is suppose that 5 rupee. Whenever RBI will distribute or sell this face value of 100 rupee currency, RBI will earn money from here also. So according to me, the answer would be 1, 2 and 3. So this will be the answer. 1, 2 and 3 means answer D. Now come to the next question. See, this question was regarding the organizations which were in the news recently. So UPSC, there is a trend for the UPSC. They are also asking questions regarding the organization. Basically, ED was in the news. So there was very high chance that they will ask question regarding ED. So they have asked what are the functions and under which ministry or department this organization work. So Directorate of Enforcement, Enforcement Directorate. This is true. It enforces the Fugitive Economic Offender Act 2018. But the ministry is different. Directorate of Enforcement ED works under the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. So 1 is wrong. This 1 is wrong. Why wrong? Function is correct. Directorate of Enforcement, its function is to enforce the Fugitive Economic Offender Act 2018. That is correct. But the ministry which is given in this question, that is wrong. So 1 will be wrong. Second is Directorate of Revenue Intelligence. Directorate of Revenue Intelligence enforce provisions of the Custom Act 1962. This is true. Also, this works under Department of Revenue and Ministry of Finance. So this one is true. 1 is wrong and 2 is true. Now come to the third organization, which is Directorate General of System and Data Management. See, Directorate General of System and Data Management means this work for the data analytics of the government. Data analytics of the government. And this works under the Ministry, Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. And its function is the big data analytics. It helps the government to catch the tax evaders who are involved in the tax evasion or who are involved in the stealing of the taxes, concealing the money from the tax authority. So this Directorate General of System and Data Management, it carry out the big data analytics to assist the tax officer for the better policy and nabbing the tax evaders, to catch the or nab the tax evaders who are involved in tax evasion. They give the data analytics to the government, basically Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. So second and third both are correct. So here answer will be only 2. This would be the answer. Now come to the next question. This question is regarding Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. See, this question can be done very easily by using common sense. See, read the statement. Reserve Bank of India mandates all the listed companies in India to submit a business responsibility and sustainability report. See, first of all, this business and sustainability report was given by the SEBI, not RBI. You might use your brain in the, your peripheral knowledge to solve the question in UPSC. It might be possible that you must not be aware about all these things, but by using common sense, you can solve this question also. See, listed company means it talk about the financial market, stock market. Listed company are regulated by whom? By SEBI, not RBI. So you can very easily eliminate this question, this option. And SEBI mandated the listed companies, top 1000 listed companies, not all the companies. It is SEBI's mandate for top 1000 listed companies to submit a business responsibility and sustainability report. So first option is wrong. Now come to the second. In India, companies submitting business responsibility and sustainability report makes disclosure in the report that are largely non-financial in nature. They are saying that what are the disclosure in this report, business responsibility and sustainability report, what are the disclosure? So this disclosure is basically related to the environmental, social and governance, means these are non-financial in nature. They deal with the environmental concern, social concern and governance concern of the company. So 2 will be true. The answer would be B. Now come to the next. See, this question was regarding the income tax. The first statement is in India, income from allied agricultural activity like poultry farming and wool rearing in rural area is exempted from any tax. See, there is a catch in this question. See, generally agricultural income in India is tax free, non-taxable. But this is very specifically given that allied agricultural activity like poultry farming and wool rearing, they are not considered under agricultural income. So they are taxable. So statement 1 is wrong. Now come to the statement 2. In rural agricultural land is not considered a capital asset under the provision of Income Tax Act 1961. This statement is true. In India, land is not considered as agricultural asset. If it is agricultural land, that I have teach in the capital gain tax also in the class. In non-agricultural land are not considered as a capital asset. So selling and purchasing of non-agricultural land is not liable under the capital gain tax. So second statement is correct. In India, rural agricultural land is not considered as a capital asset under the provision of the Income Tax Act 1961. So this answer would be statement 1 is not correct and statement 2 is correct. So answer would be D. D would be the final answer. Now come to the next question, which is very factual question and it was recently in the news. India has joined Mineral Security Partnership as a member. See, India has joined this in 2023. So that's why it was in news. So statement 1 is correct. This was related to current affair. India joined Mineral Security Partnership as a member in 2023. Now next statement is India is a resource rich country in all the 30 critical minerals that it has identified. No, this is wrong. India is not resource rich in all the 30 critical minerals which it has identified. There is scarcity of few critical minerals in India. So second statement is wrong. So second is wrong, so you can easily eliminate 1 and this one and this one. So we are left with 1 and 3, means C would be the right answer of this question. And recently Parliament in 2023 has amended Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957, empowering the central government to exclusively auction mining lease and composite license for certain critical minerals. Is that clear? So this statement can easily be eliminated because India is not resource rich country in all the 30 critical minerals. By eliminating this, you can easily get answer and that is C. Now come to the next question. See, this year UPSC has changed this pattern, which is very good because this required very high analytical skill. They have given one statement and two reasons, and they have earlier they used to give one statement and one reason, and they used to ask whether that second reason is explaining the assertion given in the question. But from this year they have changed this pattern. They have given statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, and now they are asking a different question from this. They are asking whether 1, 2, 3 are correct or not. So first you have to identify whether all the three statements are correct or not, and then you have to also give the reason to UPSC whether statement 2 is also explaining 1 or statement 3 is also explaining 1. Question was easy but a little bit lengthy. This was not a tough question. Question is very simple. I can explain it. See, as regard returns from the investment in company, generally bond holders are considered to be relatively at lower risk than stakeholders. See, there are bond holders and there are stakeholders. Stakeholders means shareholders who own share of the company. And the major difference between this bond holder and stakeholder is, in bond there is fixed amount of return. Fixed amount of return. A bond holder will get a fixed amount in the return, whether company is in loss or in the profit, that doesn't matter. For example, this is a bond of 100 rupee and this bond is giving 10% interest rate, and suppose that its maturity period is 1 year. So after 1 year, the bond holder will automatically get 110 rupees. It doesn't matter whether the company is in the profit or in the loss. That is the nature of bond. Bond always gives fixed amount of return. So statement 1 is correct. The bond holders are considered to be relatively at lower risk. Their risk is very low. But as when we see the shareholders or the stakeholders, so they own the share of the company. So share of the company means their profit or loss will depend on the profit or loss of the company. Depend on profit or loss of the company. If company is in the loss, then shareholder will also be in the loss. If company is in the profit, then shareholder will also be in the profit. So they are at risk. But bond holders, they get fixed amount of return. Now come to the next. Statement 2. Bond holders are lenders to the company, whereas stockholders are its owner. See, I have explained the concept entirely. Bond holders are the lender to the company. Bond holders purchase this bond and give 100 rupee to the company as a lend, as a loan. But stockholders, shareholders, they are the owner in the company. They own shareholding in the company. If company is in the loss, then shareholder will be in the loss. If company is in the profit, then shareholder will be in the profit. Now come to the statement 3. Repayment purpose. For the repayment purpose, bond holders are prioritized over the stockholders by the company. See, bond holders will first get the return. After that, shareholders stockholders will get the return by the company. So again, bond holders are then in the benefit. So statement 1 is also correct, and statement 2 and 3. These two statements are explaining statement 1 very clearly, which I have explained by giving you the example. So according to me, answer of this question would be statement, let me see the question. Statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them are explaining statement 1. See, this would be the answer. Both the statement 2 and 3 are correct, and 1 is explaining the explaining the 1. Now come to the next question. See, this question can be solved very easily by using elimination technique. This seems difficult to you, but it is very easy question. Forget about statement 1 and 2. I will explain using this in statement 3. See, they are saying in this question that there is no regulatory body either to warn the small investors about the risk of option trading or to act on unregistered financial advisors in this regard. See, all of you have read about the functions of SEBI. There is SEBI to regulate the small investors, to warn the small investors about the future and option trading. Whenever you will start future and option trading in any brokerage app, whether it is Grow, Angel One, Zerodha, SEBI will give you a message that 90% investors are in the loss. in FNO. Please be careful. So there is SEBI, which warns the small investors about the risk of option tradings or to act on unregistered financial advisors. There are many YouTubers who are not registered through SEBI, but still they are giving advice for the investment to the investors. There are many telegram groups. So SEBI also warn investors and act against those financial advisors who are not registered under SEBI. So if we eliminate this, that key statement 3 is not true. So you can eliminate this and this, and we are left with option A. Answer is 1 and 2. You can very easily solve this question. It seems a little bit lengthy, but question is easy. If you read the question carefully, you can solve the answer. Now come to the statement 1 and 2. India accounts for a very large portion of all equity options contract traded globally, thus exhibiting a great boom. See, this one is true. Indian share market, stock market is showing a boom. That's why there are many investors who are coming to India in greed to get larger amount as a return. So no doubt Indian stock market, though recently has been down, but it has come a long way. It provide a very good amount of return. There are many equity option contract purchase and sell in the share market in India. So statement 1 is correct. Even Indian stock market has grown rapidly in the recent past, even overtaking the Hong Kong's at some point of time. This was also in news ki recently Indian stock market has overtaking Hong Kong share market sometimes. But suppose if you are not sure about these two options, then still you can get the answer by reading this statement. This is how elimination technique work in the exam, and this can be done only with a comprehensive practice of prelims questions. Now come to the next question. See again that question which I was telling you, UPSC has changed the pattern, giving 3 statement and asking the answer whether remaining 2 statements are explaining statement 1 or not. So first statement is circular economy reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. See, what is circular economy? First understand the concept of circular economy. See, circular economy is a concept where products are used in a circulation. For example, if a product is now not in the use, suppose not in the use, then this not used product या wastage product can be used as a raw material to make another product. That is the concept of circular economy. If a product is no longer in the use, then that same product, instead of going into wastage, can be used to make another product. So consider according to this concept, wastage will be less in the circular economy, less raw material will be needed to produce new product in the economy. So when less raw material will be needed to produce new product, wastage will be less in the economy. So this will reduce the greenhouse gases in the economy. So circular economy reduces the emission of greenhouse gases in the economy. Statement 1 is correct. Now come to statement 2. Circular economy reduces the use of raw materials as input. See, I was telling you the concept of circular economy कि once a product is discarded, the same product instead of going into wastage will be used in the economy as a raw material to make a new product. So second statement very clearly say that circular economy reduces the use of raw material as input. That's true. Less material will be used as input, and that also explains statement 1. Now come to the second. Circular economy reduces wastage in the production process. I was telling you that see this, wastage will be reduced in the circular economy. So wastage will be reduced in the production process, less raw material will be used in the production process. So this will lead to the reduction in the greenhouse gases in the economy. So statement 1 is correct, and statement 2 and 3 very clearly explaining statement 1. Now come to the next question. See, this question was from the budget. This year UPSC asked very good questions from the budget. See, while reading budget, I was also telling in the class that there are two components of budget. One is revenue component and one is capital component. Very clearly, I have told in the class that capital component consider asset and liability. Means there will be impact in the asset and liability of government, then that will be considered under the capital budget. But when there is no impact of asset and liability, then that will be under revenue component. So capital component means there will be impact on the asset and liability of the government, and revenue component means there will be no impact on the asset and liability of the government. Now what comes under the capital component? See, capital receipt create a liability or cause a reduction in the asset of the government. Capital component create a liability. See, understand the concept of liability first. Then you will be able to solve this question. Liability means you owe something to others and you have to pay in the near future. If you owe something to others and you have to pay something in the near future, suppose loan. If you have taken loan, then you are liable to pay the principal amount as well as interest in the near future. So this is a liability on you. So if a government has taken loan, that comes under the capital receipt. So capital receipt will create a liability. Suppose government has taken loan, so government owe to return this loan. So this will create liability. And again, capital receipt also led to reduction in the asset of government. How? Let me explain you. Disinvestment is a capital receipt. I have explained, if government has taken loan, so this will create a liability on the government. Government will have to pay that loan with principal amount as well as interest. Then it creates liability. Capital receipt create liability on the government. How it led to reduction in the asset of the government? See, for example, disinvestment. Suppose that let's take the example of Air India. Air India was an asset for the government, but when government led to the privatization or disinvestment of the Air India, this reduced the asset. Earlier, Air India used to be the asset of the government of India, but after disinvestment or the privatization, Air India as an asset for the government has reduced. Now Air India is no more an asset of the government. So government by selling or by privatizing Air India will get something. Asset means you will get something in return, and liability means you will give something to someone in the near future. If you owe something to the someone, then it is liability, and if you are expected to get something, then it is asset. So capital receipt means asset of the government will reduce as well as liability of the government will increase. You can very clearly see the examples. Now come to the second. Borrowing and disinvestment are the capital receipt. I have explaining this to you. Borrowing means government has taken loan, that is capital receipt, and disinvestment very clearly you can see with the example of Air India. So 1 is correct, 2 is correct. Now there is a glitch. Interest received on the loan create a liability on the government. That's why I emphasized always in the class that there is difference between the interest received and loan. See, if you give loan to someone, then it will be asset for you. If government of India give loan to someone, then it will be asset for the government of India. Why? Because in near future, government of India will get something in return. But suppose government of India has received the loan government of India has received the interest on the loan, then it doesn't create a liability of the government, because it was the interest which was due for the government. Government was supposed to get a return as interest for the loan which government has disbursed. So interest received on the loan, this comes under the revenue receipt, not capital receipt, because it doesn't impact the asset and liability of the government. So if it is not impacting asset and liability, then it's come under revenue receipt. So here only two statements are correct, statement 1 and statement 2. So let me see what would be the answer. Answer would be answer would be 1 and 2. Now come to the next question. See, this year they have given you the concept, given you the numerical to solve in the paper. This was supposed to a question in the CSET, but they have given you to solve the numerical in paper 1 also. Unexpected from UPSC, they can ask you anything, but it was very simple question, but a data was missing in this question according to me. According to me, this question, in this question, they have given you the data. Revenue expenditure is given. See, revenue expenditure is given as 80,000 crore rupee. Revenue receipt is also given as 60,000 crore rupee. Government borrowing is also given as 10,000 crore rupee, and interest payment is also given as 6,000 crore rupee. See, now they have asked you the concept, what is the revenue deficit, what is the fiscal deficit, and what is the primary deficit. See, revenue deficit can very easily be find out from these given data. Why? Because revenue deficit means revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. So revenue expenditure is 80,000 and revenue receipt is 60,000. So if you minus this, then you will get as revenue deficit 20,000 crore rupee. Clear? But for finding out the fiscal deficit, we need total expenditure of the government. And here in this question, total expenditure is not given. I could not find the total expenditure. Total expenditure means revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure, both. That is total expenditure. So finding fiscal deficit, for finding out fiscal deficit, we need total expenditure. Total expenditure means revenue expenditure as well as capital expenditure. But I could not found here what is the capital expenditure. So this is a doubtful question for me. Now come to next question. They have given you a simple data and asking what is the fiscal deficit. What is the gross primary deficit? So gross primary deficit, there is a simple formula, that is fiscal deficit minus net interest liability on the government. So they have given you data that fiscal deficit stands at 50,000 crore rupee. So fiscal deficit is 50,000 crore rupees and interest liability on government is 1,500 crore rupees. So you can apply this formula and get the answer, that is 48,500 crore rupee. So A would be the answer according to me. Now come to the next question. Question number 76. I am discussing set B. If you are not knowing this, there is a simple question. It seems a little bit lengthy, but it is very easy and can very easily solve by using elimination technique. Forget about all the statements. Just you have to read in the exam, not forget about all the statement. Read question number 2. Statement number 2. Statement number 2 says that they are asking the question with reference to, with regard to the 15th Finance Commission of India, which one of the following statements are correct? So, first statement given data, again in second, third statement given data. Focus, you might not be able to recall and learn all these data in the real exam, but there is a hint in this question. By using that hint, you can easily solve that question. First statement is, it has recommended grants of 4,800 crore from the year 2022-23 to the year 2025-26 for the incentivizing state to enhance educational outcome. Very honestly speaking, I am also not aware about this fact, and that is not a bad thing. You are not supposed to know all the facts to qualify UPSC Prelims. But second statement is very common. 45% of the net proceed of union taxes are to be shared with the state. This is very common statement. The net taxes which union government is needed to share with the state is 41% according to 15th Finance Commission. By reading this, you can very easily eliminate the questions. Second is wrong. So second is here, and second is here. So we left with option 1, 3 and 4. So according to me, C would be the correct answer of this question. This can be solved by using elimination technique. You are not supposed to learn all these data. Even I am not aware about this data and this data, but I am aware about this data, and by using this you can easily solve. So UPSC is all about your psychological game. Clear? Now come to the next question, that is regarding the IBRD. See, while teaching in the class, I have told multiple times what is the name, why the name of IBRD? International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. I always explain this by using World War II. See, after World War II, there were two events that were happening in the world history, world economy. There was destruction in Europe, and second one, newly independent countries. Newly independent countries. See, one of the cause of World War II was also economic cause and absence of international bodies to regulate the economic affairs, international economic affairs. So after World War II, a conference was held in the Bretton Woods in the USA, named Bretton Woods Conference. So what was the idea behind this conference? Idea behind this conference was to reconstruction of the countries which were destroyed in the World War II in the Europe, as well as newly independent countries. There were increase in the newly independent countries due to the decolonization. So due to decolonization, newly independent countries were emerging, so they need loan for their development, and European countries which were destroyed, they need reconstruction. So European countries were in the need of reconstruction, so they wanted money, they wanted loan, and newly independent countries wanted to be a developed country, they wanted loan for their development. That's why the name is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Reconstruction of whom? Reconstruction of countries destroyed in the World War II in the Europe, and development for whom? Development for newly independent countries. So International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, it provides loans and guarantee to middle income countries, means developing countries, give loan for their development. It works single-handedly. That is the catch. You can also eliminate by using this single-handedly to help the developing countries to reduce the poverty. Single-handedly means all alone. There are many institutions who are working to reduce the poverty in the developing countries apart from the World Bank, IBRD. So this statement is wrong. If you eliminate option 2, so this can be eliminated, this can be eliminated, and this can be eliminated. We left with the 1 and 3. but I have told you the entire concept behind the IBRD, ki why the name IBRD and what are the functions of IBRD. It was established to help the Europe rebuild the world after the World War II. See, I have explained this very clearly in the class also. International Bank for reconstruction of those countries which were destroyed due to the World War II in the Europe, and loan to the middle income countries or newly independent countries for their development. That's why name International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Now come to the next question, that is about RTGS and NEFT. RTGS and NEFT is very common. RTGS means real time gross settlement. See, name itself say that real time settlement, real time gross settlement. Real times means immediately. While NEFT, National Electronic Fund Transfer, it takes some time to settle payment. See, the name itself says real time gross settlement, means gross settlement will be done on the real time, as soon as possible. When there will be transaction, there will be immediate settlement. So, statement 1, the settlement time is instantaneous in RTGS, that is true, whereas in NEFT it takes some time to settle the payment, that is also true. So, statement 1 is true according to me. Now come to the next statement. RTGS customer is charged for inward transaction. Do you know the meaning of inward transaction? Inward transaction means if someone has sent you money using RTGS, then one who is receiving that transaction, that money will be charged. No, that is not true. According to RBI, a customer cannot be charged money while receiving the money from any transaction, whether it is RTGS or whether it is NEFT. So, statement 2 is clearly wrong. Now come to the statement 3. Operating hours of RTGS restricted on certain day, while NEFT this is not true. For both RTGS and for both NEFT, they operate 24/7 all the day, even including holidays also they operate. So, statement 1 is correct, statement 2 and statement 3 is not correct. So, answer would be A, only one. Now come to the next. See, this was in the news also. In how many countries amongst the above are there other than India which where international merchant payment are accepted under UPI? UPI means Unified Payment, which you use to transfer the money. For example, we are using UPI to transfer money. So, how these UPI, in how many countries these UPI are used to transfer money? So, answer of this question would be only 3 countries are there in this given option. There are other countries also, but only 3 countries, that is United Arab Emirates, France and Singapore. Germany and Bangladesh is still not accepting the money through UPI. See, you can easily eliminate the Bangladesh because we have not a good cordial relation with the Bangladesh. But this is factual question, and this was in the news in the current affair throughout the year, in how many countries UPI has been accepted. So, this is all about the questions which have been asked in the UPSC. I hope all of
Camera is not on. Around 16 questions when it comes to current affairs. So the number of questions are somewhat similar, but I would say that UPSC has gone a little bit more deeper into the trend where minute details, if you have not been careful about minute important factual details, that if you are not been very careful about, you can fall into a trap set by UPSC. So without much delay, let's start discussing the current affair questions that were there in 2025 prelims. Now we start with the first question, which is related to NATO. NATO was much in news all through the year, primarily because of the joining or the application of certain countries to join NATO due to the Russia-Ukraine war, etc. So if you look at the question reads as, consider the following countries. They've given 6 countries over here, and how many of the above are members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. You have a picture over here which has the set of the countries that are there. So if you look at this, let's deal it one by one. If you look at Austria, there is no Austria in NATO. Then if you have Bulgaria, yes, Bulgaria is there. Then they say Croatia, yes, Croatia is also there. Next comes an important thing, it's Serbia. Serbia is not part of your NATO, and this is a very important thing to understand, because one of the biggest importance of NATO is that it is a coalition that can be used to tackle any kind of Russian aggression. Serbia being a very important part of your Russian allies that are there, you do not have Serbia as part of your NATO. So Serbia is wrong. Then coming on to Sweden. Sweden, if you look at the list over here, you do not have Sweden in the list, and then you have North Macedonia. So yeah, you have the notable Sweden is part of your NATO. Then you have North Macedonia also. So here when you look at it, you have primarily 4 countries that are part of your NATO. So the answer to this question 41 is 41B, only 4. Now just to keep a note over here, we are looking at the questions with respect to set B. So just keep that also in your mind. Moving forward, we have a question related to turmeric. As you can see over here, 44th question of set B. Consider the following statements about turmeric during the year 2022-2023. India is the largest producer and exporter of turmeric in the world. more than 30 varieties of turmeric are grown in India. And here Maharashtra, Telangana, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are the major turmeric producing states. Just to keep a note over here, the reason why turmeric has come about in current affairs is because the government in the recent budgets has declared the creation of the National Turmeric Board, and you had PIB doing a very detailed article on it. So all of the three statements, in fact, India happens to be the world's largest producer, exporter, consumer of turmeric. So first statement is correct. 30 varieties of turmeric are gone. Second statement is correct. And the third statement, that these are the 4 major turmeric producing states, even that statement is correct. So the answer to this question is 1, 2 and 3. 44th question's answer is C. Now as we move forward, we have a question about the Rashtriya Gokul mission, and this is something that I have in one of my current affairs sessions, I had told my students to remember it in the fact that when it comes to Rashtriya Gokul mission, it is from that, you know, the word or the scheme sounds very indigenous and the scheme sounds very much traditional in nature. To keep that in mind, the reason being that this is actually a dairy production. It is actually focused on your milk production. It is focused on rearing your dairy, your cattle, your buffaloes, etc. Now it is not based on the exotic breeds, it's based on the indigenous breeds. The indigenous breeds, and amongst your indigenous breeds, to select the best of the variety and try to promote it amongst your rural farmers. This is the idea of Rashtriya Gokul mission. So with that in mind, let's look at the question. Consider the following statements about Rashtriya Gokul mission. It is important for the upliftment of rural poor, as majority, that is almost 80% of your low producing indigenous animals are with small and marginal farmers and landless laborers. So if you have a scheme to uplift them, it has to focus on improving the indigenous breeds that these people have. Next, it was initiated to promote indigenous cattle and buffalo rearing and conservation in a scientific and holistic manner. That is also a very important part of Rashtriya Gokul mission. In fact, one of the primary ideas of Rashtriya Gokul mission is to look at the most famous or the most popular and very good milk producing indigenous breeds of India, and amongst the indigenous breeds, which are like the best of the sort, to collect their germplasm, to collect their DNAs, to collect their features and to incorporate that into other indigenous breeds is a primary motive of your Rashtriya Gokul mission. So the answer to this question, which is 50th question of set B, is C. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Now as we move forward, the next question is regarding BIMSTEC. Again, an international organization question. I would say that a lot of questions that have come from the current affairs part is primarily related to your international organization. The question reads as, consider the following statements with respect to BIMSTEC. It is a regional organization consisting of 7 member states till January 2025. That statement is correct. Moving forward, it came into existence with the signing of the Dhaka Declaration in 1999. Now, understand, the secretariat of BIMSTEC is in Dhaka. That is correct. But BIMSTEC came into force in 1997 after the signing of your Bangkok Declaration. If you knew either of these facts, you would eliminate statement 2, either the 1997 part or the Bangkok Declaration part. So the statement 2 is wrong. This is one of those very relieving questions because you can eliminate certain things over here. So you can eliminate anything that has 2 in it. We are left with 1 only, 1 and 4, thereby leading statement 3 to be quite irrelevant in this question. But nevertheless, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Nepal are founding member states of BIMSTEC. That is correct. In BIMSTEC, the subsector of tourism is led by India. Now understand, in BIMSTEC, all of the 7 member countries are given certain subsectors like counter-terrorism, digital security, public infrastructure, etc. Now, India primarily deals with a lot of security related sectors, and this is something that we had studied in detail in one of our current affairs sessions where I'd shown you Venn diagrams to remember this. Now understand, tourism is not a sector that is dealt by your India. In fact, it's actually a mind play, because India deals with a lot of terrorism, counter-terrorism, security related subsectors are all under India, but tourism is not under India. So statement 4 is wrong, and the answer to this question is D, 1 only. Now as we move forward, this is question 53 in your set B. It talks about the Gandhi Peace Prize. Now the Gandhi Peace Prize came about in news, again the reason being that the Gita Press was awarded the Gandhi Peace Prize, and at that time we had discussed in detail about who is the jury of it, what are the components, or what is the prize money. All of these things were discussed. So the question reads as, who amongst the following are members of the jury to select the recipient of the Gandhi Peace Prize? The President of India, the Prime Minister of India, the Chief Justice of India, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. Now in this question I want you to understand, all except the President of India is correct. The Prime Minister, the Chief Justice, the leader of opposition, and two eminent people that they deem fit will also be part of the jury of your Gandhi Peace Prize, but the President is not part of it. So the answer to this 53rd question is 2, 3 and 4. Moving forward, this is a question that gave me a lot of relief to see in the paper. The reason being that it was just like almost 1 month before we discussed this, and this is also a very important pointer for those who are preparing further on. This particular current affair and the happenings related to it was somewhere around your Feb 14-15 of 2025. That is just, I would say, like 2 months prior to this exam. So this is also a clue for you to not ignore the current affairs that have been there in February or the March beginning times. This particular question is regarding the AI Action Summit that was held in Paris in February 2025. Now the summit was very important because India was the co-chair of this summit along with your France. Okay, so there was this meeting of both the Indian Premier and the France Premier all coming together, and specifically because this was related to AI, we had again focused a lot of, given a lot of importance to this in our session also. Now here, the question reads as, the session or this summit was co-chaired with India. The event builds on the advances made at the Bletchley Park Summit, which was in London in 2023, and the Seoul Summit held in 2024. Yes, this is right. This is the third in-line summit that has happened for this AI action plan that is there. This is an important thing, and the moment I saw this statement, I was so happy. The reason being that this is one of the things that we had stressed in that session where we said that despite being pioneers in AI, US and UK have been exempted, or they have not signed this AI Action Summits decisions that were there. So along with other countries, US and UK also signed the declaration is a wrong statement. But statement 1 is correct. The answer to this question is A, 1 only. Moving forward, this is a pretty factual question, I would say, and you had to know some part of it to solve it. So here the question reads as, how many of the following are correctly matched? To relieve you of all the tension, all of them are correctly matched. International Year of Women Farmers 2026, International Year of Sustainable and Resilient Tourism is 27, Year of Peace and Trust is 25, and Asteroid Awareness and Planetary Defense is 29. All the 4 given in this list is correct. It's a very factual question. You had to know some part of it to actually solve this question. So this is the 56th question, not the 55. 56th question in set B. Moving forward, we have, and this is a question that actually shocked me with respect to UPSC trying to make things difficult for aspirants. The reason being that this seemingly is a question about BRICS. So you're like, oh wow, I know BRICS. Okay, I know stuff about BRICS. I know the recent summit. I know about the 16th summit. And this is where there's a catch in it. Consider the following statements with regard to BRICS. 16th BRICS summit was held under the chairship of Russia in Kazan. That is right. This is a fact that anybody who has been just even skimming through the newspaper would have seen. Indonesia has become a full member of BRICS. Indonesia has become the first Southeast Asian country to become a full-time member of BRICS as per this recent summit that is there. So the second statement is also correct. And this is where the catch is, the third statement. The third statement says the theme of the 16th summit, BRICS summit, was strengthening multiculturalism for just global development and security. Now the catch over here is the theme is multilateralism, strengthening multilateralism for fair global development and security. So if you've been that keen on looking at every other word and memorizing the theme is where you can reach to the third thing. But let's see if we can, is it necessary to reach the third? Why? Because the first statement is correct. That leaves us with A, C and D. Okay. And then Indonesia, if you know, that is also correct. Then that actually leaves us with 1 and 2, 1 only, thereby making third irrelevant. But then you have to know if that second statement is correct. Otherwise, you might as well end up marking 1 only. So anyway, the answer to this particular question, which is the 57th question of set B, is A, 1 and 2. Now let's move on to the next question. The next question again, so anybody who's preparing for the next year, keep this in mind. UPSC has kept very true to its nature. Sports is still a favorite, not a favorite, is you are expected at least 2 questions, 1 or 2 questions from the sports. Doesn't mean that you have to watch all the IPL matches and everything, but nevertheless, all the important stuff related to your Indian sports have come as questions. First thing is, we had the first ever Kho Kho. Those who have played this game in school know that the first ever Kho Kho World Cup was actually conducted, and the event was held in Delhi, India. That is a statement correct. And this championship was so important and so good. The reason being that both your men's team and the women's team, they both won in the finals and they have been champions in their respective categories, which means that the second statement, which reads Indian men beat Nepal with a score of 78-40 in the final to become the world champion in the men category, that is correct. Indian women beat Nepal with a score of 54-36 in the final to become the world champion in the women category, that is also correct. That makes this question, all of them, correct. So I hope that is also clear for you. The next question, I think even if you have not been following sports, maybe this is something that we all would have seen a lot of popularity being given, so you would have seen this. This is primarily the 60th question. The question reads as, in the finals of the 45th Chess Olympiad held in 2024, Gukesh Dommaraju became the world's youngest winner after defeating the Russian player Jan Nepomniachtchi. Now, we know about Gukesh's win. We know about, there was a lot of discussion about the win, about, all the emotions in it, the prize money, all of these things were discussed. One notable thing is that was not Gukesh's opponent. In fact, this chess Olympiad was actually in news for another reason, being that a lot of your Russian players did not attend this chess Olympiad primarily because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So So if you correlate that also, you can understand that first statement, all the part is right, but the opponent is not Ian, so the statement is wrong. Second statement, a lot of people might have gotten confused by the name, but understand Abhimanyu Mishra, an American chess player. Obviously he is an Indian, but he holds American citizenship. An American chess player holds the record of becoming the world's youngest ever grandmaster. Yes, Abhimanyu Mishra became the grandmaster at 10, and you know that he has been continuing the streak, but then the first time he ever got an international championship and he was declared as grandmaster was when he was in his 10th year of age. So here statement 2 is correct, statement 1 is wrong. The answer to this question is 2 only. Moving forward, we have a question about the rare earth elements, and this again we have the mission happening about rare earth. We have a lot of discussion has already happened, so this is going to be a simple question for those who've been following the rare earth missions and everything in India. Consider the following statements. Some rare earth elements are used in the manufacture of flat television screens and computer monitors. So lithium, cadmium, you have a lot of these combinations getting used in your television screens, primarily because of the second statement. The second statement being some rare earth elements have phosphorescent properties. That means when you have a certain energy source given to it, it emits light, and this is very important if you have to use it in screens. Okay, so here your statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is correct, and when you look at the combination of it, both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1. So the answer to your question is A. Moving forward, this is a question again that brought a lot of, as a teacher, I was quite happy because this is something that we don't even do it in the current affair class. In the foundation batch, when we take science and tech, we have dealt with Kavach this year because Indian Railway is planning to fit Kavach with a lot of our trains. So what exactly is Kavach? And there's a discussion about the National Rail Plan also. So let's have a look at all of this. Consider the following statements. Indian Railways have prepared a National Rail Plan. That is correct. They have prepared a National Rail Plan to create a future-ready railway system. That is also correct. But the last part, by 2028, that is wrong. It is not 2028. The beginning timeline of it is actually right now put at 2030. So this is where again the catch is. Now you might think, oh, it's very irrelevant. Why would UPSC change 2028 and 2030? But understand 2030 is actually the the mission year for a lot of our programs, be it our sustainable development goals, be it a lot of our infrastructure programs that we are taking, because 2030 is where you can see any actual development taking its fruits, like be it in economic development, etc. So 2030 for our climate goals, and this is something I had told in class, if they ever confuse you with year, remember 2030 is actually a very, earlier it used to be 2025, now it's extended. A lot of our programs have its final date at 2030. So that statement is wrong. Then moving on, Kavach is an automatic train protection system. Yes, that is also right, but Kavach is a wholly indigenous project. And this is very important because here they have said it is with collaboration with Germany. That is wrong. Kavach is actually a wholly indigenous project. So second statement is also wrong. The third one says the Kavach system consists of RFID tags fitted on track in station sections. That means what? Whenever you have your Kavach system, the idea is the RFID tags is there in your station, in the track, in the signal, in the traffic signal that is there in your station. In all of these areas you will have the RFID, and then you will also have a reader in front of the train. Wherever the train is moving, in front of the train also you will have a RFID detector. So here the third statement is actually correct. statements 1 and 2 are wrong. Now this is where maybe at the end you might even miss this, but this question asks which of the following statements given above are not correct. The ones which are not correct. So 1 and 2 are the statements which are not correct. Moving forward, this is question 69. Question 69 reads as, consider the following statement. Statement 1, in India, state governments have no power for making rules for grant of concessions in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in their territories. This is very important to understand. Minor minerals means anything, like even including your sand, your silt, all of this comes under the idea of minor minerals. Now that statement 1 says that the state government will have no role in it, but a lot of time you do hear whenever there is any kind of sand extraction or anything, the state government is what is called in also. So the first statement that says the state government has no power for making rules with respect to who can extract minor minerals despite it being in their territory, that is a wrong statement. The second statement says in India, the central government has the power to notify minor minerals under the relevant law. So the central government can say what the minor minerals are. Once the central government says, it can also be taken up by the state government to understand or to give the licenses to who can extract it. So here, understand statement 2 is correct. So when you look at the answer over here, you will see that statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. The answer to the question is D. Okay. Now moving forward, we have the next question. India is one of the founding members of the International North-South Transport Corridor. Again, something that has been there in news primarily because of the Chabahar port, etc. A multimodal transportation corridor which will connect India to Central Asia and to Europe after that via Iran, India to Central Asia via China. So imagine this, via China, when you see itself, you know this is not something that we would ever plan, so that is wrong. India to Southeast Asia through Bangladesh and Myanmar, we have another plan for that, but that is not INSTC, so that is wrong. India to Europe through Azerbaijan. Now Azerbaijan is just one country in your Central Asian region, but India actually plans to dedicate a lot of area in your Central Asia, not just Azerbaijan. So here the answer is India to Central Asia to Europe via Iran, and here is where the Chabahar port of India comes into play, because the Chabahar port is the one at the Iranian port that we are planning to connect, and from Iran to Central Asia, from Central Asia to Europe. So this is the plan for your INSTC. The answer to the question is A. Moving forward, this is a very simple question, I would say. The question is about the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. Surya Ghar, again you can understand this is primarily related to your solar rooftop panels. It targets installation of 1 crore solar rooftop panels in residential sector. That is correct. The Ministry of New and Renewable Energy aims to impart training on installation, operation, maintenance and repairs of solar rooftop systems at grassroots levels. That is also correct. It aims to create more than 3 lakh skilled manpower through fresh skilling and upskilling and under scheme component of capacity building. You would have heard about the Surya Mitras, the Surya Ghars, all of these are coming under this particular program, and the answer to this question is 1, 2 and 3. This is one of those questions which is primarily for the promotion or to create awareness of the scheme. Every year there is 2 or 1 or 2 questions that come about as an awareness mission sort of a thing. So this is one such question. The answer to the question is 1, 2 and 3. Now coming to the last question in current affairs, after which we will move on to environment and science and tech. The last question in current affairs is primarily regarding the Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. Now what's the question? Consider the following activities: production of crude oil, refining, storage and distribution of petroleum, marketing and sale of petroleum products, production of natural gas. How many of the above activities are regulated by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board in our country? Seemingly, it seems like, wow, it's a very simple question, but here is where the catch is. See, refining, storage and distribution of petroleum, obviously if there's a regulatory board, they would do it, so that's correct. Marketing and sale of petroleum products, obviously that is also done. The catch is when it comes to crude oil and natural gas production. Now here is where there is a trick to remember this. The natural gas, we do have a lot of resources in our country, so the natural gas production is taken care of by your regulatory board. But the crude oil, we primarily are a country that imports a lot of this. A lot of our crude oil comes from outside. We do refining and marketing and everything here, but the import is what we primarily focus on. So the actual production of crude oil is not actually taken care of by your Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. Only 3 activities are taken care of, and the answer to this question is only three activities are taken care of by your Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. So the answer to the 90th question is C. So I guess this much is clear for you right now. Now we have to move on to the next set of questions, which is primarily your, let's see, let's deal with environment. Okay, so I hope you are ready to deal with the environment set of questions. Okay, now again, to just put it into perspective, environment has been having a very consistent pattern. Environment has been having a very consistent pattern in the sense that the range of questions are primarily somewhere around 12 to 13. So here also, this year also, we have had questions which are in the range of 12 to 13 questions. So again, but what are the primary areas of focus in environment? Now, previously, you know, a lot of national parks, species, all of that used to come as important, but here you can see that primarily the environment area has focused on pollution, certain aspects of your energy production, etc. So let's have a quick look at what is happening with respect to environment. The first question, which is the 10th question from your set B. Okay. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. Activated carbon is a good and an attractive tool to remove pollutants and effluent streams and to remediate contaminants from various industries. See, understand, when you have pollutants in your stream, in your water stream, etc., if you have to try to remove it, you need a very good absorbing material. Okay, and your activated carbon is one such absorbing material. So the first statement which says it's a good and attractive tool to remove pollutants, the statement as it is correct. Second, the activated carbon exhibits a large surface area and strong potential for absorbing heavy metals. Now don't get confused with heavy metals part. This is actually right, because activated carbon is a quite porous structure and it can very easily absorb even your larger, heavier metals like your lead, your cadmium, etc. That is also a correct statement. Activated carbon can be easily synthesized from environmental waste with high carbon content. For example, your coconut husk, any kind of wasted biomass, all of that can be used to produce activated carbon. So now all three statements are correct, and this is where UPSC has brought one more trick from its the set that it has. They are asking which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements, and they've given a mixture of statements. Statement 1 says, or A says, both statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them explain statement 1. Okay, maybe it could be correct, so I'll keep it there. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. Only one of the statements 2 and 3 is correct, and that explains statement 1. So that is clearly wrong because both statement 2 and 3 are correct. D statement says neither statement 2 nor statement 3 is correct. Look, it seems like a maze, no? Imagine those who were actually there in the examination hall trying to deal with this question. So this is also wrong because we have just said that 2 and 3 are correct. Now comes the point. Which of this is correct, A or B? See, if you look at the statements, statement 3 says activated carbon can be easily synthesized from environmental waste. Good. Fine, but is that the reason that it is actually trying to, or it is helpful in removing pollutants? We might not know, but the statement 2 says it's a large surface area and it has strong potential for absorbing metals. This is actually the reason why we are using it in the environment. The other one makes it easily available, that you can produce it from different parts, but that is not what the first statement is saying. It's saying it's a good and attractive tool to remove pollutants, and that we have to deal with the fact that it's because your statement 2 is the reason. So here we are going with the idea that both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. And which is the one? This statement 2. So I hope that is clear. The next question that we have to deal with is related to silica. So again, this is also a 3 statement. Environment, I think a lot of more number. I think in environment and economy is where you had a more number of these 3 statement questions. Statement 1, studies indicate that carbon dioxide emissions from cement industry account for more than 5% of global carbon emissions. That is right. It is up to, I guess, 7 plus. It goes around 7% and above from the cement industry. That much amount of carbon emissions do come. So your statement 1 is correct. Your silica bearing clay is mixed with limestone while manufacturing cement. So again, understand, if your cement has to have an holding capacity, it needs to be mixed with clay and limestone, and the statement is also correct. The third statement says limestone is converted into lime during clinker production for cement manufacturing. Again, this actually deals with the fact of how you're getting so much of, look at this, they're saying that here there's a lot of carbon dioxide emissions coming out, okay, and they're saying it's coming from the cement industry. So obviously when you look at the other 2 statements over here, one, they're saying that there is silica, which is Si, limestone, CaCO3. Here they're saying limestone is converted into lime, that is CaO, your calcium oxide, which is there in the production of cement manufacturing. That is also correct, because after all of these productions, the byproduct that comes out is your carbon dioxide. So statement 2 is correct, statement 3 is correct. Now the questions again are in that same pattern, both 2 and 3 are correct, which is a reason for the other. So now when you look at this, here both statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them explain statement 1. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them explains. Here again we know the last two will be wrong because only one of statements, that doesn't make sense because we just said 2 and 3 are correct. So when you look at your answer over here, both of these, silica bearing clay mixed with limestone, and that limestone thereafter getting converted into calcium oxide, all of these things contribute to this, to carbon dioxide emissions getting increased. So here when you look at all of this over here, you can say that the answer to this 11th question is A. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct and both of them explain statement 1. Okay. Now moving forward, we have to go on to the 12th question. 12th question again, let's have a look at this. Those who are future aspirants, for next year also, trust me, one major current affair that's going to keep following you, keep this word in mind, decarbonization. Decarbonization. If you ask me what is one thing that the Indian government is so concerned about when it comes to environment and different sectors, with respect from an environment point of view, it's decarbonization. Decarbonization means to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that is used and that is also released from certain sectors. Reduce the amount of carbon, reduce the amount of carbon dioxide emissions, all of these are a major priority. This question primarily deals with one such aspect. So let's have a look at the question. The question says, at the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP28, India refrained from signing Declaration on Climate and Health. One thing, again, this is a question that made me really happy for the reason being that every time there is a COP summit, okay, I keep telling my students, see, India goes and signs a lot of agreements. You cannot study all the agreements. But what you can do is the ones that India did not sign, you can keep a note of it. Why? Because at least you can eliminate using that. And this one is one such thing that India did not sign in COP28. Along with certain methane pledges, certain aspects related to Declaration on Climate and Health was not signed by India. India has its own reasons for it. In declaration, whenever there is a climate and agriculture treaty, this is also something that I would tell in class. Climate and agriculture means India is always very skeptical. Climate and methane emissions means India is very skeptical. India tries to refrain from these. So yes, India did refrain from that. Now comes into the statement 2, the COP28 Declaration on Climate and Health is a binding declaration, and if signed, it becomes mandatory to decarbonize health sector. See, if it was mandatory, then India would have tried to sign, no, because India is a very important, part of your Paris Agreement. India is one country that's trying to create a difference. So it was not mandatory, it was voluntary in nature. Statement 2 is wrong. Then coming into last thing, if India's health sector is decarbonized, the resilience of its healthcare system may be compromised. There's nothing like that. We are not able to decarbonize our healthcare system because it requires huge amount of money. Okay, so to decarbonize that means we need lots of extra funding for that, and this is the reason why we are not going and promising that we'll decarbonize. Decarbonize, again, I told you what it is. So here statement 2 is wrong, statement 3 is wrong. Okay, so now looking at all the statements over here, the only statement, statement 1 is the only one that's correct. Now look at all the statements, and the only thing that fits our bill over here is D. Neither statement 2 nor statement 3 is correct. Okay, they're not having a lot of things that says it explains 1, explains 2, but no, none of these explains anything else. 2 and 3 are wrong, 1 is correct. That's it, plain as that. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Moving on to 13th question. Again, see, this was a major event in the last year's current affairs and last year's environment. And we had a joke in class saying that now, because of all of this phenomenon, maybe our days are actually feeling a little bit longer or shorter. Okay, the reason being that, look at this, the first statement says, scientific studies suggest that a shift is taking place in the Earth's rotation and axis. All these statements are related to climate change. Because of climate change, what is happening is, the ice that is trapped in your poles are melting. When the ice that is trapped in your poles are melting, that comes off as water and it tries to get to the equator. When it tries to get to the equator, because of a change in the entirety of the mass, what happens is our axis tilts. Already it's tilted, it tilts a little bit more. Now when the axis tilts, the axis of the Earth tilts a bit, what also happens is our rotational speed also changes. Okay, so this is something that's happening, and we might not feel it right now, but eventually when you look at it, this change amounts to our days getting, in a lot of areas what happens is the days will get shorter, the days will get longer, it depends. But again, what is happening is this shift has happened, and it is all due to climate change. Let's look at the questions. Scientific studies suggest that a shift is taking place in the Earth's rotation and axis. Correct. Solar flares and associated coronal mass ejections bombarded the Earth's outermost atmosphere with tremendous amount of energy. Now understand, from the sun you do have the solar phenomenon called as your solar flares. Okay, and your coronal mass ejections, etc., where what happens is, because of sun's heat, a lot of charged particles are getting ejected out from the sun. Now understand, not all the particles do reach us, but in the last year you will see that a lot of times the solar activity caused something called as your X-flare. X-flares. X-flare means it's the highest, most energetic kind of flares, where all of that energy that's ejected, it comes into our outer atmosphere. See, now our atmosphere is supposed to protect us. So on most of the time, the atmosphere tries to cushion everything and support us. But at times, the outer atmosphere of the Earth, so if you have the Earth over here, you have the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, then on top if you have the ionosphere and then the exosphere, they reach till here. They might not reach to the Earth's surface, but they do reach to the outer atmosphere. So you can see over here the statement 2 that says that it gives out, or that the solar flares put tremendous amount of energy into the Earth's outer atmosphere. That statement is correct as it is. Statement 3 says, as the Earth's polar ice melts, the water tends to move towards the equator. This is a correct statement. Now you must be wondering, statement 1 and 3 are related, but statement 2 is unrelated to it, but nevertheless it's correct. So when you look at it, the option that fits it is B. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. Because the polar ice is melting, this is where the rotation and the axis is shifting. So the answer to your question of 13th question is B. Both 2 and 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. Now moving to the next question. The next question is the 14th question, which says the articles of the Paris Agreement. I mean, we are doing this at a very short notice, but in the coming days, I'm probably sure I can get the screen grab from my foundation batch where I told about how important are the articles of the Paris Agreement for this particular year, primarily because of something called as a global stocktake. And then to see this question was actually very something very happy for me, because you know, you when you predict something and you get it right, I mean, obviously there's some sort of happiness in it. Now consider the following statements. Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on climate change is frequently discussed in global discussions on sustainable development and climate change. Yes, it's a very general statement. Article 6 is discussed. That is correct. Second statement is Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on Climate sets out the principles of carbon markets. Now I want you to understand something. Article 6 of the Paris Agreement primarily tells, okay, we have now decided to reduce all the carbon emissions and everything. How do we do it? How can we support each country for doing this? How can you support? You can give money, you can create some mechanisms, you can create market mechanisms. Market mechanisms means somewhere where you have money exchanged for some emission reductions, or you can have also non-market mechanisms. What are non-market mechanisms? Non-market mechanisms primarily mean that you create awareness to reduce the emissions, etc. Got it? See, so Article 6 of your Paris Agreement primarily says what all can we do to reduce the emissions. So statement says it sets out the principles of carbon markets. That is correct. Statement 3 says Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on Climate Change intends to promote inter-country non-market strategies to reach their climate targets. That is also correct. Remember this, Article 6 deals with both market and non-market mechanisms to reduce your emissions. But when you look at all the options over here, you can see that both statement 2 and 3 are correct, okay, and both of them explain statement 1. For example, why? Because there is market mechanism and there is non-market mechanism, is why that it is always discussed in your global discussions. Whenever there is any talk about Paris Agreement, Article 6 comes into the forefront. So the answer to this question over here is 14A. Both statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them can explain statement 1. Moving forward, this is a very simple, straightforward question, 15th question. Which one of the following launched the Nature Solutions Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific? See, understand, out of all of these which are written over there, the IBRD, which is a part of your World Bank is already doing so much of funding. They are not going to give anything specifically for Asia and Pacific called Nature Solutions Finance. If you look at all of the other 3 banks which are mentioned over here, at this particular point, the one bank that will have enough of wealth to give out for such a mission is your Asian Development Bank. This is primarily related to infrastructure. New Development Bank is actually to help countries which are in financial distress. The one that has good amount of money is your Asian Development Bank, which was created way before 1960s period. These are new age banks that are there. The answer to your question over here is A, the Asian Development Bank. Moving forward to the next question. With reference to the direct air capture, an emerging technology, which of the following are correct? So let's get a understanding over here. Carbon, now can you see a trend in these questions? The trend primarily being that decarbonization, carbon capture, activated carbon. There's a lot of attention given to your carbon related emissions, carbon related technologies, etc. So that is one clue for anybody who's preparing for your next attempt. This is not going to be like, oh, this year UPSC was obsessed with carbon. No, nothing like that. UPSC is going to be obsessed with carbon for the coming at least 3-4 years. The reason being that this is primarily a part of our national agenda to reduce carbon emissions and to find new technologies for it. So here now you're going to look at this question, which is direct air capture. With reference to direct air capture, an emerging technology, which of the following are correct? What is direct air capture? You are using certain methods, certain solids, liquids, etc. and in the air, see, the problem right now that we are facing is what? There's a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. So they're like, okay, let's trap it back. All the carbon dioxide is there. Directly from the air, let's capture it back. So when you capture it back, this is what is called as your direct air capture, and it can be used as a way of carbon sequestration. What is carbon sequestration? Just means that you're collecting carbon from the air and you are storing it. Sequestering means storing it in proper packages, so they can get stored. Earlier UPSC used to be obsessed with where can you store the carbon. So you can store it in your oil fields, you can store it in unused oil fields, okay, not the ones that are getting used, unused oil fields, mines, etc. So this statement is correct. Again, it can be a valuable approach for plastic production and in food processing. So again, this captured carbon, which is already there in the air, you can use it for food processing. You can create dry ice from it. Dry ice is the solid carbon that is there. It is also used for plastic production, so that you are not creating more carbon dioxide. Already what is there in the atmosphere is what is used and reused for this purpose. So that is also correct. In aviation, it can be a source of carbon for combining with hydrogen to create synthetic low carbon fuel. Very important, because one other thing that this year we were focusing on was decarbonization of your airline industries that are there. So the decarbonization of shipping, decarbonization of airlines. So when you look at decarbonization of airlines, this is one thing that they are planning to do. Instead of taking more petrol and air fuel and everything and burning that, you capture the carbon dioxide which is there in the air, store it in another place. From the stored place, you try to use it as an air, your aircraft fuel that is there. And how are you going to use it? Not just by putting it directly over there, you try to combine it with hydrogen and create low carbon fuel. So this is also an answer, or this is also another use of your direct air capture. The answer to the 16th question is 1, 2 and 3. C. Now we have a very species, I think one of the very few species questions that we have this year regarding peacock tarantula. It's a very pretty spider, okay. Tarantula, I hope when you hear the word itself you understand it's a spider. You know this from different tarantulas that you've seen in maybe cartoons and other places. It's otherwise also called as Gooty tarantula. Gooty tarantula, it's the name of a place. Consider, not Ooty, Gooty, okay. Consider the following statements. It is an omnivorous crustacean. Guys, crustacean. Now you must be thinking, oh my god, UPSC is asking all of these zoological terms. Nothing. Crustacean was a term that was introduced in the UPSC paper several years ago. Like 3-4 times they have mentioned crustacean in several past year papers. So you are expected to know what a crustacean is. A crustacean is primarily a shelled organism. Like for example, your prawns, your crab, all of these belong to the idea of crustaceans. Tarantula is not a crustacean. It belongs to the family of you have your arachnid, you have your different spider families. So it does not belong to your crustacean family. That statement is wrong. Now, its natural habitat in India is only limited to some forest areas. Exactly. The reason being that the name is also derived from only those forest areas where it is actually seen. So statement 2 is also correct. Statement 3 says, in its natural habitat, it is an arboreal species. Arboreal means it lives on trees. And statement 2 is correct. Statement 3 is correct. The answer to your 17th question is D. Okay. Moving forward, we have a question that says, consider the following statements. Again, you have carbon dioxide, guys. Carbon dioxide is not going to leave you. So carbon dioxide emissions in India are less than 0.5 tons of carbon dioxide per capita. Per capita means we individually are giving out 0.5 tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Per capita means per individual. That's the first statement. Now understand, when you take the total or the world's highest carbon dioxide emissions, despite us having a huge population also, and our population actually adds to the carbon dioxide emissions, we actually feature in the top 5 countries. Each of us have carbon dioxide emission of roughly 2.5 plus tons of carbon dioxide per capita. 0.5 is actually an ideal situation for us. So that is not correct. This statement is wrong. In terms of carbon dioxide emissions from fuel combustion specifically, okay, that means from automobiles, India ranks second in the Asia Pacific region. This is something that we have a relief in. Why? Because we have always China that is at first, and then you have India, and the second statement is correct. India ranks second. Finally, electricity and heat producers are the largest source of carbon dioxide emissions in India. Now understand, in India, a large amount of our carbon dioxide production comes from thermal power plants. And why do we need thermal power plants? To produce electricity. Okay, so when you look at all of the statements given and ask which is correct, the answer to your 18th question is C, 2 and 3 only. 1 is not correct. Okay, now let's move on to your 19th question. Again, this was the second species question that we had. Let's try to see if we can try to solve it in any way or not. They're asking how many of the above pairs are correctly matched. Let's look at the ones that we might know. Okay, so now when you look at all of this, this is one thing that we all learn in our smaller classes. When you look at ginger, so they're speaking about cassava, ginger, Malabar spinach, mint, papaya. Okay, now they are asking, is it a shrub or a herb? Is one shrub or a herb or a climber is one such question. Is it annual or perennial? Is it woody or soft? All of these things are other topics. Now let's try to look at each of this. Cassava is actually something that is it grows in, and again one more thing to remember is shrub means it will have multiple branchings. Okay, so cassava is actually a woody shrub primarily. And how do you assess if it's woody or not? Primarily, the woody shrub means you will have a certain amount of thickness. It is not going to be edible. It's not going to be soft bendable. So none of these things are possible for your cassava. Okay, cassava is otherwise also called as tapioca, if you are familiar with that. So tapioca is primarily it grows as a woody shrub. So that is correct. Ginger. This is what we have learnt in small, and when I saw the question first, ginger was the first thing that came to my mind, because we always have been taught the fact that ginger is actually a false stem. Okay, ginger which occurs at the ground level, it is actually a false stem of the plant. So here if you look at it, they're saying herb with a pseudo stem, and that is correct. Now coming into Malabar spinach. Malabar spinach, like your normal spinach, okay, it has a certain climbing quality, and if you look at it, they're saying it's a herbaceous climber. Now see, we do have a contest over here, primarily because see, herb-like features. The Malabar spinach has herb-like features. Herb-like features means it has, that soft kind of a stem that is there. The stem is edible. All of these things are there. In certain sources, we also have seen the fact that maybe it's not fully categorized as herbaceous. It's a leafy vegetable also. Got it. So there are two contested views over here. Again, since you have seen how UPSC has been dealing with the answer key in the recent times, we have gone with the majority view with certain botanical perspectives. When you look at it, the majority view says the Malabar spinach is a climber and it's herbaceous. Okay, now again I'm stressing on the fact that there are certain sources, certain botanical sources which do not even categorize it as a herb also, but instead as a leafy vegetable. We are going with our better judgment and our knowledge base over here, and I am categorizing it as a herbaceous climber. Mint is not an annual shrub, it's a perennial shrub. It stays for many years together. When it comes to your papaya again, when you look at it, they call it a woody shrub, but actually papaya is a woody herb. So your 4 is wrong, 5 is wrong. We are going with only 3. But again, we'll have to wait 1 year to see what is going to be the final conclusion of this. Going to the 20th question, with reference to the planet Earth, consider the following statements. Rainforests produce more oxygen than produced by oceans. Now understand, in your rainforests, you have trees, but in your oceans, you have something called as your phytoplankton. And because this is there only, the oceans are called as your lungs of the world. Okay, so here if you look at it, almost when you take the total amount of oxygen in the world, and if you look at who produces more, you will see that the oceans produce more oxygen than your rainforest. So this statement is wrong. Marine phytoplankton and photosynthetic bacteria produce about 50% of the world's oxygen. That is correct. Well oxygenated surface water contains several folds higher oxygen than in atmospheric air. That is wrong. Why? Because if it is, we are talking about two things. In the water, oxygen production, creation of oxygen is higher in the water. But if you look at air and if you look at water, and then when you try to see, because whatever oxygen is there, it tries to get dissolved into the water. So when that gets dissolved, I want you to remember, in your atmosphere itself, you have, I would say that if you compare the atmospheric air and the one that is there in the oxygen, the amount of air that is able to dissolve in the oxygen is much, much lesser. Okay, so production might be higher over here, but here the one that is consumed, or the one that is actually dissolved in the water, is going to be less in your oceans. So your third statement is wrong, your first statement is wrong. The only statement which is correct is B, 2 only. Finally, we have again a very simple question which is there. Which organization has enacted the National Restoration Law to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss? Okay, so which organization, when you look at this, anytime there is any kind of new innovative structures, we have mentioned in class that it will not be, and see, this is again, it's a National Restoration Law. If you look at all the organizations over here, this is international. This is again with very elite countries. This is a bank, so you eliminate this first. But the European Union is one such organization that actually behaves like a lawmaking body for a lot of these European countries. Got it? So when you say National Restoration Law, the answer is European Union. Okay, the option is A. Now coming to the final question of your environment section, which is there, the 73rd question of your set B. The first statement reads, of the two major ethanol producers in the world, Brazil and USA, the former produces more ethanol than the latter. The statement is wrong. You have America producing more than your Brazil. So that statement is wrong. Unlike in USA of America, where corn is the principal feedstock in ethanol production, sugarcane is the principal source that is there in Brazil. What is the difference between corn and this thing? See, understand, what is ethanol production? In the first place is that ethanol is something that is created from your biomass. Okay. Now, what is biomass? Ethanol, you know, it's the sugar content that is there. It combined with water and carbon dioxide and different things. See, when you say biomass, it can be something as simple as your coconut husk or your wheat, your rice, all of this is biomass. Now, when you look at America, corn is their major, corn, wheat, all of that comes as their major, the source from which they are extracting ethanol. But when you come to Brazil, Brazil is more towards the equatorial side. They do not have vast areas of corn and wheat and everything. But what they do have is sugarcane. And from sugarcane also you can produce your ethanol. So if you look at the difference in both of this, in America it's corn, in Brazil it's your sugarcane. So statement 2 is correct, statement 1 is wrong. The answer to the question over here is statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. So the answer to the 73rd question is B. Okay. Now let's quickly move on to the science and tech section of your paper. Now let's go on to the science and tech section. The first question, again science and tech also has kept much in pattern. We have around 13 questions even for your science and tech. We have around 13 questions for your science and tech. So you will see that here the first question, and again there's a lot of questions, I was just telling the team over here, lot of questions on alternate fuel. Keep that in mind, those who are attempting next year's exam, alternate fuels have been asked. So without much delay, let's go to the first question. The first question says, consider the following types of vehicles: full battery electric vehicle, hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, fuel cell electric hybrid vehicle. Okay, looks very complicated, but the question is actually very simple. How many of the above are considered as alternative powertrain vehicles? See, don't get confused over here. This is actually a very technical term to get introduced to a UPSC aspirant, but understand, powertrain just simply means, so there are two types of mechanisms by which a vehicle moves. Something called as a powertrain, and then there is drivetrain. Okay, so powertrain primarily means that the power is generated in one source and the generated source transfer the power to the engine, and the engine drives the vehicle forward. Sounds familiar? This is what almost all our vehicles are. Okay, it's not some out of the world technology they have introduced over here. Powertrain just means that there is a battery and the battery powers and the vehicle is propelled forward. Okay, as opposed to drivetrain, where in drivetrain there is a small extra technicality where it's not the engine directly propelling the vehicle forward. Okay, so here your powertrain vehicles are almost all the vehicles that we see today, be it your normal engine vehicles, your fuel cell, your electric vehicle, your hydrogen fuel cell, all of these are powertrain vehicles. So the answer to the question is all three. Okay, see, this is something where, you know, if moving forward, with reference to unmanned aerial vehicles, consider the following statements. Now again, this is a little bit of, there is a doubt that comes about, but let's try to see this. All types of UAVs can do vertical landing. Vertical landing is coming straight to and fixing at a point over there, but that is not the case. See, the primary difference between your unmanned or indifferences which is there in your unmanned aerial vehicles is some of them are micro drone vehicles. And some of them are, you have situations where you have larger drones, larger unmanned air vehicles that are there. Now, when you look at your all types of UAVs can do vertical landing, that is wrong. Why? Because certain smaller unmanned aerial vehicles cannot do vertical landing. So that is wrong. All types of UAVs can do automated hovering. Automated hovering means moving over an area by the fixed designated points that are there. You already program the drone to move in a certain area. But again, not all unmanned aerial vehicles can do that. So again, that is wrong. All types of UAVs can use battery only as source of power supply. It just means that only battery can be used as a source of power supply, but that again need not be the case. So here, when you look at your second question with respect to your science and tech, we are now going with the answer. None of the given statements above are correct. Okay, so the answer to this question is D, none. Moving forward, the next question is in context of electric vehicle batteries. Again, something that is alternate tech that is there. In the context of electric vehicle batteries, which of the following usually make a battery cathode? Going back to your science, which is there in your 11th and 12th. So you have anode, you have cathode. The idea is certain electrons come out, this gives out, and this cyclic mechanism is what generates extra electrons, and that extra electrons is what comes out as electricity from a battery. Now if you look at all of these metals, we hear lithium battery, nickel battery, cobalt battery. Now understand, all of these terms that we normally hear are actually your cathodes. But graphite actually is an anode that is used. Okay, so graphite has a lot of carbon to be giving out, so this is the reason why graphite is used as a anode. You will see over here how many of them usually make up cathodes. Only 3 of them can make up cathodes. The answer to this question is C. Moving forward, which of the following contain plastic? Very commonsensical, very direct question which is there. Cigarette butts, eyeglass lenses, car tires. Okay, so understand, in all of these 3, you have cigarette butts. Again, there was a news last year which said that from your cigarette smoking and things, you have so much of microplastics released which cause pollution. So if microplastics have to be released in the cigarette butt, there should be plastic, right? So that's correct. Eyeglass lenses, it's not just made of your glass, you will have components of several, giving it a quality of unbreakableness, etc. So you have plastic in that. Even in car tires, you have certain types of plastic, not the plastic that you normally see, extensive, very modified forms of plastic. So the answer to this question is C, all the 3. Moving forward, we have again a question called as coal gasification. What exactly is this coal gasification? This is actually your 5th question in your set B. Consider the following substances. You have ethanol, nitroglycerine and urea. Okay, and they are asking coal gasification technology can be used in the production of how many of them? Now here is where you have to understand, coal gasification primarily means that you are, whatever is the production after your production of coal, whatever byproducts you get, you combine it with certain elements of hydrogen, etc., and you create something called as syngas. And this syngas is not as polluting as your other elements. So what happens is the syngas is thereafter then used for certain other products that you want to produce. And this is where the important thing is, syngas is actually directly used in the production of fertilizers, and therefore you have urea coming in it. Syngas is actually directly used in the production of methanol, and after methanol is produced, then it is used to produce ethanol. So you can say coal gasification indirectly produces ethanol. Okay, so indirectly produces ethanol. One thing that's clearly no over here is nitroglycerine. Nitroglycerine is actually a major component of certain explosives, etc. Nitroglycerine is not something that is produced after coal gasification. So that is clear to us. The only doubtful part is if ethanol is also going to get included in this or not, because ethanol, the indirect production of your coal gasification or no, indirect production of your ethanol happens using coal gasification. So this is the doubtful part. Anyway, using our better judgment and putting all the trust in UPSC, we have gone with the answer 1 and 2. That means how many of them means? Only 2. The answer to the 5th question we've marked as B, but again I'm telling you this is the catch point over here. Okay. Moving forward, it's a very direct question, which is the common characteristics of the chemical substances generally known as Cl20, HMX, LLM 105 that are there. So this was very frequently there in the several war conditions, etc. The answer to this 6th question is B. Okay, these are explosives in military weapons. Moving forward, consider the following statements. They are talking about quantum computing. Let's read all the questions. It is expected that Mahendravarman I chip will enable quantum computing. Okay. Second statement is Mahendravarman I chip has been introduced by Amazon Web Services. That is wrong. Okay. Again, understand Amazon is actually just a, it's an integrating platform. The actual tech giants are your Intel and your Microsoft and your Google and everything. So this is wrong. Mahendravarman is actually created by Microsoft. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Something again I'm very happy that those who attended the class could solve, because I always show this diagram where there's artificial intelligence, then there is a machine learning thing, and inside the machine learning the subset is your deep learning. So 3rd statement is correct, 2nd statement is wrong. When you look at your 1st statement again, you will see this is also correct. It is used for quantum computing. The answer to the question is 1 and 3 only. Okay. Now moving on to the 8th question. Again, this was in this year's health class when we had taken science and tech. There were a lot of very inquisitive students, and monoclonal antibodies was actually asked as a question way back in your 2015-14 period. So again, there is this time gap where you expect, okay, it's time that question came back, and right at that time there was a current affair also. So this was also a predicted question. Happy about it. Again, with reference to the monoclonal antibodies often mentioned in news, consider the following statements. Monoclonal antibodies are something that are artificially manufactured. Okay, they are man-made proteins, and they can actually help to have any kind of immunological function against any specific antigens. That means if any specific thing has to be attacked, this you can make it specifically for that disease. This was also discussed when COVID was spreading. Why? Because each variant of COVID was different. So even if slight changes were there, we could actually create monoclonal antibodies to try to treat the COVID. But then obviously we were also involved in vaccine research and everything, so that also happened. Now coming into this particular statement, they are man-made proteins. They stimulate immunological function. That means it helps the immune system to start fighting. That is also there. They are used in treating viral infections like Nipah. This, my dear students, was the current affair. Okay, so it was discussed that a lot of these technologies could be used to create like your Ebola, your Nipah, any abrupt diseases that come. You can use your monoclonal antibodies for this particular treatment. And the answer to this question is 1, 2 and 3. I really hope all my students wrote this, because we've spent time discussing this. Oh, the virus question. Question number 9 that is there in your science and tech. Consider the following statements. This is one thing that when we take in our class we say virus, bacteria, fungi. If you don't know the exception for these things, go with your better judgment. So when you look at this over here, they're saying no virus can survive in ocean waters. Why not? Okay, virus can survive in any particular situation, but there's not an active antiviral agent that is there. You have marine viruses. That statement is correct. No virus can infect bacteria. That again is wrong, because you have a very cruel looking virus called as your bacteriophage, which specifically tries to attack your bacteria. So that is also there. Then, I mean, that's no virus can infect bacteria. That statement is wrong. No virus can survive in the ocean. That is also wrong. Wrong, guys, okay? No virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity in host cells. For those who are beginners, this seems like a very complicated statement, but trust me, one of the first classes of our biotech deals with the idea that, you know, there is something called as transcription in our body cells that helps us to have our features. Like, for example, if I am having curly hair and black eyes and everything, it's because of two major processes called as transcription and translation. And your virus can actually attack when it enters into our body. It can interfere with both of these processes, transcription and translation. That means what? If they interfere with both of these, for example, in my body, if I'm taking in oxygen, and my body is feeling good, it's because of transcription and translation happening at some level. The virus is entering and trying to mess up with transcription. Means what? My body will not perform it in the same manner. My body will not, it will not take in oxygen, I will not feel good in the same manner. That means the viruses have the ability to do this, and we discuss all this detailedly, but understand no virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity is a wrong statement. That means which of the statements above are correct? None of them are correct. We are nearing to the end of our science and tech questions. This again, Gagan technology. If any of my students whom I have taught in class are watching this, can you just say in the comment that you've attended this Gagan question? Because we've spent so much time discussing what is Gagan, where all it's used. Just give me a thumbs up or something if you have attended this question right. Okay. GPS aided geo augmented navigation system, Gagan, uses a system of ground stations to provide necessary augmentation. Which of the following statements is or are correct with respect to Gagan? First of all, understand, Gagan was a system that we designed primarily because we were using GPS for all our movements. Okay, now GPS is good, but obviously we've had trouble with GPS. You all know GPS does not give you minute, accurate, correct values at sometimes. And when you're flying your aircraft and everything, you need accurate values. So what we created is Gagan system, which uses the GPS signal. In very simple terms, we use the GPS signal and we correct it, you know, based on our need. So that's why it's called as GPS aided geo augmented system. So if you look at it, it's designed to provide additional accuracy and integrity. Correct. It will allow more uniform and high quality air traffic management. Correct. The third statement is where my contribution comes in. It will provide benefits only in aviation but not in other modes of transportation. And here is where the catch is, guys, because when we created Gagan, initially itself, we said we're going to use it for air traffic control and also in unmanned railway crossings. In areas where you have unmanned railway crossings, there also you're going to use Gagan to clarify these areas. That means your statement third is wrong. It will provide even in your railways. But 1 and 2 is correct. The answer to the question is D. Where are my students? Anyone who has who's attending the live, at least right now, if you've attended this question correct, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Okay. Then coming to the next question, again something when in the science world we have always been talking in the last 2-3 years about the Gaganyaan mission, and one thing I keep telling students is Gaganyaan is going to be one of the most important missions that India will do in the coming years. Every single tech that ISRO is trying out right now will have some or the other bearing on your Gagan. And we are doing specifically for your Gaganyaan, not Gaganyaan mission. So when you look at this, they said consider the following space missions: Axiom 4, SpadeX, Gaganyaan. How many of the space missions given above encourage and support microgravity research? What is the meaning of microgravity research? Microgravity research primarily means that if someone is functioning in extremely low gravity, especially when you're sending humans into space, normally if you're sending a technology or anything that can withstand the variations in gravity, it's fine. But if you're sending humans, no, even slight changes in gravity can affect your physiological systems in a different way. So then you have to study in detail like what is going to be the effect of low gravity, what is going to be the effect of less gravity, etc. Now Axiom, SpadeX and some people might say, oh, SpadeX is just a space docking system. Understand, space docking, why did we even do that? We did that primarily so that our Gaganyaan mission is going to be perfect. Okay, so SpadeX, the reason mission that we have incorporated with foreign collaboration, Axiom 4, Gaganyaan, all of them actually have compounds or components to study about microgravity. Why are we studying about microgravity? Because we are sending humans into space. Okay, so the answer to this question is all the three. Moving forward, the next question is with reference to India's defense, which again this is one statement where I think all of you who have been following the defense activities correctly would be having a knowledge about. With reference to India's defense, consider the following pairs. Dornier 228 is a maritime, the description is given, maritime patrol aircraft. IL-76 supersonic combat aircraft, C-17 Globemaster 3 military transport aircraft. How many of the pairs given above are correctly matched? You can very easily come to the conclusion only 2 of them are correctly matched in this list. Finally, the last question in science and tech, artificial rain or artificial way of causing rainfall to reduce air pollution makes use of. So one thing that I have always told in classes, you have silver iodide that is always used in artificial rain. Now there are 2 options with silver iodide and potassium iodide, silver iodide and potassium nitrate. Out of the 2, when it comes to this particular thing, the artificial rain is created using silver iodide and potassium iodide. So the answer to the question is A. So with that we come to an end of questions of environment, science and tech and current affair. I hope all of you have done, I know it's a difficult paper, but then I hope those who have written it have some amount of hope left in. Why? Because again, if the paper is difficult, as you know, the cutoff will come, it will be a little bit more attainable for the large number of students. So then I hope that works out well for you. Okay, all the best, dear students. Now we move on to the next subject discussion. Thank you.
fine. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to IASbaba. So now we will start with history discussion. So all in around, we can say around 17 questions for us, 16 17 questions. We will discuss every question. Again, most of the questions were came out of most of the previous year's question papers only. If you had done a good analysis of the previous year question paper, which we have always emphasized to go through it, I think it would have been history part, I would say, generally history part. I think it would have been a good question paper, I would say. Okay, so let's start the first question. So again, don't worry about whatever marks, whatever marked over here. So I will give the answer here because it is somebody has marked it. So I will give the mark. I will give the correct answer here. Okay, just neglect about what has been marked over here. Okay. So first question. So consider the following statements about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He possessed great love and respect for the traditional philosophical system of the East. Again, this question again, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, last time I think its question was asked way back in 2012. Again, this is again a PYQ. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, again, one statement was asked in way back in 2012, that is Vedas are infallible according to Brahma Samaj. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, again, that is coming right from the PYQ part itself only. Okay, the first statement is definitely correct. He had great respect for both Eastern philosophy also as well as Western philosophy also. Yes, there is no differentiation between the two. In second statement, I desired his countrymen to accept the rational and scientific approach. See, when we talked about in our prelims classes as well as in foundation classes, we dealt extensively about Raja Ram Mohan Roy as a one personality, about his viewpoints and everything. And one aspect of Indian social and religious reform movement is that is rationalism. Raja Ram Mohan Roy always encouraged people to be rational for everybody. Okay, so that is approach and the principle of human dignity and social equality. Of course, he also talked about equality of his religion is universal religion. His concept is universalization. That is everyone is equal. So both these statements are correct. Okay, so answer should be that is both 1 and 2. That is correctly marked by that particular we can say. So both are correct. The first statement is also correct. Second statement is also correct. Again, that is coming out of, we can say, one of the topics, that is social and religious reform movement. Again, came out of the PYQs. Again, we always emphasize in our prelims exclusive program. I think we in our history classes, I think we solved most of the questions from 2011 to until 2024. We emphasize about the importance of the PYQs. Again, one question, we will solve that question again, that directly came from 2016 prelims. Okay, same question was asked, but in a different manner it was asked. So this is correct. Okay, so this statement, that is second statement is also correct, first statement is also correct. So answer should be both 1 and 2 because the question tag is which are the correct statement. Okay, first question done, very easy. Now consider the following statements of non-cooperation movement. I think UPSC was emphasizing about Swadeshi movement. Many times Swadeshi movement question was asked. This time they have shifted to non-cooperation movement. Again, this topic again we have dealt very extensively in our classes. The boycott of law courts. Again, non-cooperation movement you have to talk about. It started in 1920. It was in 2 stages. The first stages is about that is non-cooperation, and the second stage it would be civil disobedience. That is how, again, related question, one more question is also asked. We will come to that question also. Boycott of law courts and foreign cloth. That is the basic aspect of non-cooperation with the Britishers. That is the correct answer. Correct statement. Observance of strict non-violence. Gandhiji's philosophy. He always emphasized upon non-violence because when the movement turned into violence after Chauri Chaura incident, then he withdraw the support for that one too. Okay, so or withdraw the entire movement altogether. That statement is also correct. Retention of the titles. No, he asked for boycott of the titles. So you have to boycott. Gandhiji himself gave up many titles too. Okay, he gave up titles in Jallianwala Bagh also. He gave up certain titles to non-cooperation movement also. So many people gave up their titles. So that statement is wrong. Okay, that statement is wrong. Again, what is how many of the above were parts of non-cooperation movement? So that is not, retention of the title is not part of the non-cooperation movement. Establishment of panchayats as settling disputes, because you are boycotting law courts, there should be alternative, right? There should be alternative. What is the alternative system Gandhiji emphasized? He always emphasized upon the traditional Indian, we can say, judicial system, that is arbitration system, that is panchayats. Okay, so that is also part of the non-cooperation movement. First statement is right, second statement is right, third statement is wrong, fourth statement is correct. So overall we can say, so how many of the above were parts of non-cooperation movement? That is only 3. 3 statements are part of that one. Okay, that is what that is the answer would be. Again, very conceptual part, nothing understanding about that one. So if you read even basic textbooks also, it could have been answered too. Okay, so all these things are very basic questions, especially some of the questions that has been asked this time in history. Okay, come to the next question. The irrigation, again this is the question I was talking about, the same word, same question was asked in 2016 prelims. If you go and check that particular word, okay, it was asked in 2016 prelims. Even though we did not solve this question in our prelims classes, because we will be honest, we are not going to claim each and every question that we have discussed. Whichever the questions I have discussed in the classes, I will claim. So this question anyway we did not discuss in the classes, but it was there in the PYQ. It was there in the PYQ. If you had done PYQ analysis also, this question you could have answered very easily. So Aragatta is a irrigation technique, irrigation wheel. The basic meaning of Aragatta is that one, that is spoke pot. Okay, where is the word spoke pot? That is spokes and pots. It's a large wheel. That's a B is the answer. Okay, this device is also mentioned mentioned in we can say in some of the textbook, even in Arsha Charita also it has been mentioned. It was not just in medieval times also, it was also there in ancient times too. Okay, so Arsha Charita written by Banabhatta, he also mentions about these particular devices too, which was used for irrigation purpose in ancient and medieval times also. Okay, so this is 2016 question that is again repeated in 2025. Look at that one again. We always emphasize upon the PYQs. Why PYQs matter a lot because of this reason only. Okay, so this is done. Again, people might get confused with this large earthen pot with bullocks, because to run the Aragatta you can use bullocks also, but the actual meaning is spokes and pots, right? Because it can be run by humans also. It can be operated by humans too, and that is the reason I believe this should be the correct answer. A large wheel. Okay, so that is a perfect, and with earthen pots tied to the outer ends of its spoke. That's correct. Okay, B. Then next question. Who among the following rulers of ancient India assumed the titles of Matta Vilasa, okay, Vichitra Chitta, and again Gunabhara? Even though in class I discussed about one book called Matta Vilasa Prashasana that was written by Mahendravarman. We discussed in Pallavas. Okay, even though I have not discussed these particular terms, okay, because titles we felt like during that point of time, that is I don't think UPSC could have not many questions would have asked. Now again the new trend, they are starting with that one, but to answer this question that book would have been enough. Matta Vilasa Prasasana, we discussed that one while in our prelims exclusive program also, as well as in our foundations classes also. So answer should be Mahendravarman, not Narasimhavarman. Don't worry about this one. Answer is Mahendravarman, that is Pallava king. Same Mahendravarman who got defeated by we can say Pulikeshin II. So all these concepts we have discussed over there. In that one book we discussed, that's Matta Vilasa Prasasana. That logic, that is just one knowledge, that is one aspect, one point would have been helped to answer this particular question. Mahendravarman first. Okay, it's 24. So next question. So it is one of the easiest of questions. Travelers we discussed. One traveler question was asked in 2013 prelims. Okay, about UN song. Okay, that question was asked. Now again, now Fayan question has been asked during the Gupta's time period. So who was the Gupta during that point of time? It was Chandragupta II. Okay, in around early part of 4th century AD, and that is when Fayan came. So again, we discuss all these concepts too. I think I discussed a separate aspect in our foundation class about 3 different travelers like UN song, Fayan, and then again Ijing. So all these things we have discussed in our classes too. So answer should be Chandragupta II. Okay, simple, all these things. Now this is was in news also. Cholas were in news for a last couple of years. So who among the following successful military campaign against the kingdom of Srivijaya, that is a state in Malaya Peninsula, that is Sumatra, Java, and then neighboring islands, that is peninsular India. So using logic also you could have answered this question. Cholas were known for the royal Cholas, imperial Cholas. So both Rajendra Chola as well as Rajaraja Chola, they are known for their campaigns outside India, particularly using their powerful navy. So answer should be Rajendra Chola. Okay, so very simple question again, that is this particular thing again we have discussed in our classes too. This particular question, answer is C, Rajendra Chola. Then come to this one, Mahajanapadas. Again the river banks of Mahajanapadas we have discussed in our classes too. So look at this can be tricky because it's slightly factual. If you know the answer, if you know actual even utilizing geographical knowledge also, you could have answered this question too. Like Assaka or Ashmaka, this is Telangana and Maharashtra region. So look at the river Godavari. Kamboja, a little north. Okay, so little north. Okay, then Vipasa, it is Bias river. Bias river is further south within the Indus Valley itself. So that could have been eliminated. Again, using geography to solve history. We talked about many times, that is with respect to, we can say interlinking of concepts also, interlinking of, we can say, topics also. Now we are interlinking of subject that is happening, that is geography being interlinked with some of the historical places. Then Avanti is Ujjain region, that is, we can say, Madhya Pradesh region, but they are asking about Mahanadi, which is in Odisha region. So there is again directional difference we can talk about, directional difference we can say. So that is wrong, and this is wrong, this is right. Koshala, and that is, we can talk about UP region. The capital of Koshala was Ayodhya, and we know Ayodhya is located on the banks of river Sarayu. Okay, so this is right and this is right, so this is wrong and this is wrong. Only how many are correctly matched? So it has to be only 2. Only 2 are properly launched. Sorry, only 2 are properly matched, rather not launched, rather matched. Okay, so again, factual aspect, utilizing basic geographical knowledge also. If you know the ancient names of the cities, ancient name of the different Mahajanapadas, so it again Mahajanapadas concept, 600 BC to 300 BC. So answer should be B, only 2, because 2 are properly matched, 2 are wrongly matched. Okay. Next one, Ashokan inscription suggests that Pradeshika, Rajuka, Yukta were important officers. That it can be tricky. It is quite trickier because many people, I think many people say it is provinces. No, it's not actually provincial. See, when you understand the entire administration, again we discussed this particular concept in our prelims exclusive program and in our foundation classes also. So entire kingdom is divided into provinces. Okay, that is the first level of administration. Now provinces are further divided into Pradeshika. Okay, that is the word. So it is further subdivision of provinces, that is Pradeshika. Now Pradeshikas are further subdivided into, we can say, Rajukas. Okay, that is second one. So these are district levels. Okay, these are districts and sub-district level. These are not provincial level. This is a further subdivision of the provinces. Now what is Yukta? Yukta was an officer. Okay, kind of a clerk at these particular levels. At this particular level, he was a clerk. So answer has to be the district level administration. It is district level administration. Okay, many people might get confused with provinces, but actually it is district level administration. Okay, so answer should be B for this particular question. Ashokan inscription mentioned Pradeshika, Rajuka and Yukta, and that is in district, they are district level administration also, and at the same time one of the officers, one is a clerk officer, Yukta was. Next one, again this where little bit I will give you 2 answers for this particular question. Okay, because the particular statement looks complicated. Sometimes UPSC has previously made complex statements as wrong statements, but we will analyze it properly. Then we can take, because even I am not so sure about what can be the probable answer, but I will discuss both the answers, why either A or either C. We will come to that one. Now, consider the following statement in respect to non-cooperation movement. Again, one more time, non-cooperation movement question. The Congress declared attainment of Swaraj by all legitimate and peaceful means. Exactly, it was adopted in 1920 Nagpur session. Previously what INC used to believe is that one, that is, we will achieve Swaraj through constitutional means. But right now they changed their constitution in 1920 Nagpur session through extra constitutional, peaceful and legitimate means. What are the legitimate and peaceful means are? These are, we can say, mass movement. Okay, mass movement are legitimate, mass movement are extra constitutional, and mass movement are peaceful. Yes, mass movement can turn into violent also, but that statement is correct. Now second statement, that is where it is, that is the reason first statement is correct. Second statement can be trickier. It depends on interpretation of this particular statement because of the word this only, slightly extreme statement, and that is the reason I am giving you 2 answers for this particular question. So we'll analyze that one. It was to be implemented in stages, like I already told you. And non-cooperation movement was to be implemented in stages. Yes, first stage was, that is boycott, okay, that is non-cooperation. Okay, second stage has to be civil disobedience, and that is non-payment of taxes, violation of laws. So these are all civil disobedience. All these are part of civil disobedience. Now it was to be implemented in stages. That is correct. With civil disobedience and non-payment of taxes for the next stage, only if Swaraj did not come within a year and the government resorted to repression, because there was no timeline was not decided when it is going to be launched. But when the second phase was to be launched, so political prisoners had been non-violent protesters had been arrested. We can call them as political prisoners. Now Gandhiji had put 2 demands actually. So first demand is that one, if you don't release the political prisoners, then I will launch civil disobedience movement. And British government had also imposed restrictions on the press. So if you don't remove those restrictions, that is also one of the reasons why we are going to launch civil disobedience movement. But anyway, it was not launched because of Chauri Chaura incident. But on that basis, Gandhiji also promised that we are going to achieve Swaraj within a year also. Okay, but that was not the condition for launching civil disobedience movement. But if the government resorted to repression, yes, government by putting restrictions on press, on media, and government arresting non-violent protesters, that is a government repression. But Gandhiji put the condition that if the repression measures are not removed, then I am going to launch a civil disobedience movement, and that is where its subjectivity of this particular statement comes in. So either go with both 1 and 2, both can be right, and if this statement gets wrong because of this particularly only word, because of extremity of the sentence, extremity of the word, we can go with only one. Okay, that is the reason I am giving you both. So either A or C. I would say if it is generalized, I think C should be the answer, both 1 and A, because they are asking the correct statement. Okay, if at all, so we can say, again, we have to wait for until UPSC answer key comes, because last time we know that one question was invalidated because of that one, some ambiguity in the one of the statements that is asked about Rohit Vari question that was asked last year, 2024. So that is where I am also a little bit confused about it. Let's see what will happen. Okay, so either you can go with C or A. Okay, definitely not B, definitely not D. Okay, so that is what it is. Next one. Sedition has become a religion was famous statement given by Gandhiji at the time of not Champaran. It's a localized movement. You can just eliminate that one. Okay, it was a peasant movement. Then salt law violation, that is what civil disobedience movement is. Okay, that is salt law. April 1930, that is one area. Attend a second round table conference, no, that is not the answer. And launch of Quit India movement, no, answer is, that is salt law, publicly violating salt law. That is the answer. Answer is B. Actually, one more statement is that Bala Gangadhar Tilak also made this statement. So that is in a different context, and he was arrested for sedition charges also, but he is directly asking about this statement made by Gandhiji. Yes, there is a full statement of Gandhiji also with respect to sedition has become a religion. He used the term dharma. Sedition has become a dharma. So that was after violating salt law at Dandi. Okay, answer should be B. Next one, this is one of the easiest of questions. So Harappan civilization, it is called as Bronze Age. We talked about techniques of making bronze statues during that point of time. It is called Serapirdu or lost wax technique. So answer is bronze. Okay, it's a bronze dancing girl. So anywhere, if you have seen in NCERT, various images have been mentioned. So this particular image has been given. And even our class also, in our art and culture classes, I covered separately also about showing this image in the classes too. So that is bronze dancing girl. Okay, the answer is bronze, because Harappan civilization was called a Bronze Age. And we have the Stone Ages, and that is we discussed Bronze Age, and next again Iron Age, which is the later Vedic time period. Okay, so answer is B. Rather C, not B, C. Okay, probably the easiest question. Then again, who provided legal defense to the people arrested in aftermath of Chauri Chaura? Again, look at that one. It's one area. Non-cooperation movement has been asked a lot of, because many questions have come from this particular question. So answer is Mahendravarman Malviya and Krishnakant. So this is the answer. Okay, this is correctly marked. Mahendravarman Malviya and Krishnakant. Okay, Chittaranjan Das provided legal defense for Arvindo Ghosh. This I discussed in class. Okay, I don't think I discussed this in class. Even it did not come to my mind when we are taking the classes. I did not discuss this particular fact. But we have discussed about Chauri Chaura, we discussed about some of the concepts. But this one, Chittaranjan Das, he provided legal defense to Arvindo Ghosh when he got arrested in 1908. Okay. With respect to that is called as Maniktola conspiracy case. Okay, that's Ghosh Arvindo versus Empire case that we discussed. We did not discuss about this particular aspect over there. But the answer is Mahendravarman Malviya and Krishnakant. Okay. Jinnah provided legal defense to Tilak. Okay, this we discussed. Okay, Jinnah provided legal defense to Tilak during, we can say, Home Rule League movement, when Tilak was served Shokas notice by Britishers, and he got defended by Jinnah. But in this case, there is Mahendravarman Malviya and Krishnakant. Okay, so that is answer B. Next one, again, subsequent to which one of the following events Gandhiji, who consistently opposed untouchability, because untouchability was part of Gandhiji's, we can say, constructive program. We discussed what constructive program is. and appealed for its eradication from all spheres, decided to include the upliftment of origins in his political and social program after the Pune Pact, because it has happened in 1932, September 1932, before the second round table conference had happened. After that, Ramsay MacDonald gave communal award, giving separate electorate to depressed classes, which was accepted by Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar but opposed by Gandhiji. Now we can say a pact happened between these two when Gandhiji was in jail. So after Pune Pact, now Gandhiji made it as a mission to eradicate untouchability. He established Arijan Sevak Sangha also, and within a week also he established Arijan Sevak Sangha after Pune Pact too. Okay, so that is answer is Pune Pact, not Gandhi-Irwin agreement. It's purely political in nature, Gandhi-Irwin agreement. Then arrest of Congress quit India movement, that is 1942. Okay, the Arijan Sangha, he already called Dalits as Arijans, that is the son of Lord Ari, that is son of gods. That is a word Gandhiji used for, we can say, depressed classes. Then again, promulgation of the Government of India Act of 1935, even before only he had started Arijan campaign. So that is answer should be A, after Pune Pact in 1932. Next one, again this is repeated. Again, how this question came up, if you had seen again 2012, go back to 2012, one question was asked why Gandhiji did fast on to death in 1932 is because against the communal award of Ramsay MacDonald in 1932. So that question again, that concept is repeated. The concept of that question is repeated again. That is the reason we emphasize upon PYQ's matter a lot. Okay, I know the overall question paper was moderate to tough. There is no doubt about that. Definitely not easy. So, but if you have the grasp about this particular PYQs, you can still score decent amount of marks in UPSC Prelims. Again, 2012, 2025. So we emphasize so many times we emphasize upon PYQs, and we solved most of the questions within our, we can say, classes also. So answer should be the Pune Pact. This is 94th question. Then come to this question. Again, this was asked in 2018. Okay, not the exact crops they asked about, but they asked in different crops. Okay, which of the following crops were introduced from old world, new world to old world? Portuguese, they had given, I guess, if I'm not wrong, cocoa they had given, rubber they had given, tobacco answer option they had given. Okay, that was also asked. Now again, just a repetition of that one question. Now which of them Portuguese came and they introduced 16th and 17th centuries? They introduced all three also, papaya, pineapple and guava. Okay, all three are the answer. I think it is marked wrong, but all three are right. Okay, only two is wrong, all three are right. Okay, because which of how many above were introduced? All of them were introduced. Answer is C. Simple. Okay, again PYQ. Okay, again PYQ. And now this is I guess another easy question. Social religious movement. Okay. Among the following was the founder of self-respect movement, that is Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Actually, Periyar made very famous. One more person is also associated with founding of self-respect movement, Ramanathan. That is again this question we also discussed in our classes too. Okay, so that is E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. That is answer option is A. And lastly, I think this one, I think it was in news. Maybe I did not come across this question anywhere. So this was asked. The first Gandharva Mahavidyalaya, okay, music training school was set up in 1901 by Vishnu Digambar Paluskar. Okay, so that was actually in Lahore. I will check the answer. It has to be Lahore, 1901. But again, probably it was in news. Personality, maybe I have not come across this particular topic also. Maybe we will update ourselves. We'll update ourselves with more personalities in our coming classes too. Okay, so this is the answers for all the questions that we have discussed. So 17 questions. So I would say history questions, if you had read all the PYQs, I think it would have been much easier to attend. History part I am talking about. Okay, so anyway, thank you so much. So I wish you all the best.
Am I audible? Check manadwa. Okay. Okay, done. So we'll start polity. Before that, how it is like, how was the paper, how easy it was, how difficult it was. So we will have, and a matter of 10 seconds delay irutte ivrige ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೌದಾ 10 seconds lag ಇರುತ್ತಾ ಓಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಾ ಓಕೆ ಪೆನ್ yes yes so now how was the polity, how was the questions, and how to prepare. We'll have a general and brief discussion. Say for example, in polity we can expect some 13 to 14 questions every year. In every subject we expect. At the same time, like the questions can go as high as some 17 to 20 questions. So that is wherein UPSC gives highest importance for your polity को. So जब highest importance देते हैं, so then it can go up till 20 questions. Else it is 13-14. This year we have 14 questions. Full bounty you can get from polity if you prepare thoroughly. Yes, full bounty means all 14 you can get it correct. So even if you get 12 correct, a very good hit ratio, matlab your performance is very good. Out of 12 if you score, out of 14 if you score 12 questions correct. Yes, so now how to strategize. In polity it is not like, say, unlike your other factual subjects, कहीं से भी questions आ जाते हैं, so we cannot expect where the questions come from. So better it is like, say, go for giving good importance for polity. Now how to prepare. Take one book or take one class and see them thoroughly. And when you see them thoroughly, so say there the faculty will teach you by comparing the things. Say for example, how to compare. So what is the procedure of election for a president? What is the procedure of election of vice president? So electoral college में क्या difference है? Or how to pass a normal bill, how to pass a money bill. So when you compare and study, so therein you will be very accurate for prelims. So prelims के लिए you will be very much accurate. So now after seeing the classes and after you analyze comparatively, now take up any one good book and read them thoroughly. And while reading, say for example you took any one good book, you took लक्ष्मीकांत, आपने लक्ष्मीकांत ले लिया. Yes, debate चल रहा है कि लक्ष्मीकांत नहीं पढ़ना है, वो ये है. Any one good book will suffice. And so now when you take Lakshmikant, have one more book called PM Bakshi along with you. So what is this PM Bakshi book? PM Bakshi is your, say, core constitution, bare act we will say. Constitution में क्या है, तो वही PM Bakshi में लिखा हुआ है. I'll show you the book, the picture of that book. So now पढ़ना कैसे? Say for example, you are studying, say, fundamental rights. So अब article 14 में से क्या लिखा है PM Bakshi में? What is actually written in the constitution for article 14? You will go and read that. And obviously the constitution gives in a very advocative language, क्योंकि constitution को advocates बनाए थे and लिखे थे कि common man did it. So common man cannot do such a hectic constitution with such a bombastic language. So common man बोल ही नहीं सकता ऐसे English. Yes, so common man अगर English बोलना है तो उसको कुछ साहस ही करके बैठना है. So now it is that read what is given in the constitution and have half knowledge of that. अगर 50% समझ में आ गया तो ठीक है. Yes, so even if you understand some 50%, enough. And now go and read the explanation of Article 14. So right to equality make, so what is the explanation? So now when you read the book, say you will get to know, yes, what are the articles or what are the sub clauses present in that article, and say how in various cases Supreme Court has interpreted that article. Yes, so that is a complete revision or complete study or mastering of that article. Yes, so and once you complete that, spend some time to the current affairs. So in your current affairs, so what has happened to that article? Say for example, you will be studying Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. So now say go and compare like what is currently going on with freedom of speech and expression. Say internet shutdowns. Say there is a Supreme Court judgment going on for frequent internet shutdowns. So now that is associated with Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. Yes, so I prefer say 4 stages of studies. 1, any class. 2, PM Bakshi, the Bear Act. Then 3, any good book which explains everything. And 4, current affairs. Questions kahi nahi jayenge, so all questions will be from this and you can take full bounty from this. Yes, so that is why say don't neglect polity and give good amount of time. And everyone knows that so after 2 to 3 years of preparation, so aap sab lawyer ban baithe hain, so you will become advocates after studying polity for 2 to 3 years, and it is an interesting subject as well. So we will begin now. After we prepared, we will see the PYQs, so how the previous year questions have been coming. And say in this year paper, 2025 paper, if you have done PYQs, you will get good number of repetitive questions. So that is why say go for PYQs. How in Article 14 questions have come in the previous year, so make sure you will say learn that, and say try to give good mock tests. So by the analysis of PYQs, you will get to know some keywords or some clauses, some literature, how UPSC asks a question. So that is also very much necessary, and then with that knowledge give some mock tests, try getting good scores. So you are done with polity prelims. So this is your PM Bakshi Bear Act. Don't miss this element in your preparation. I'll say discuss why that is very much important. Now we will go with the first polity question of 2025 paper with respect to Panchayati Raj. Panchayats at the intermediate level exist in all the states. So when you are solving PYQs, so the word all say is actually extreme. So now say this can be probably wrong, and now apply your knowledge. Say whether it should be in the 3 stages or 2 stages is not specified in the constitution. It is left to the discretion of states. States को बोला गया कि आपको जैसे चाहिए कर लो. There are some small states, there are big states, so it is left to the discretion. It is not existing in all states. अगर आपको knowledge है तो ठीक है. If you have guessworks, even then it is well and good. Yes, done. Then to be eligible to be a member of panchayat at the intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 years. Now the constitution says to become a member of Gram Sabha को member बनने, so to become a member of Gram Sabha you have to reach the age of 18, and everybody who has reached 18 in the village becomes the member of Gram Sabha. To become the member of Gram Panchayat, that is in order to contest election for Gram Panchayat, so you have to get 21 years of age. Yes, and this 21 is for all panchayats, Gram Panchayat, intermediate level or Zilla Panchayat. So there is no specification in the constitution that say for Gram Sabha में Gram Panchayat के लिए 1 year या तालुक पंचायत तहसील पंचायत के लिए 1 year. So it hasn't been given. 21 is for the basic eligibility criteria for all 3 or 2 tiers of panchayat, whichever your state has. 30 years is farce. We'll cut this down. Yes. Then Chief Minister of the state constitutes a commission to review the financial position of panchayats at the intermediate levels. All executive powers is vested with either president or the governor. So your prime minister, chief minister will not be doing that. He will advise the president or governor to do that. Last year there was a question. Annual financial statements is laid down, say, by prime minister. It is laid down by president, not by prime minister. Yes. So by PYQs you can hit this. Same clauses. The prime minister was highlighted in the last year. Chief minister is highlighted in this year. Yes. Likewise. Now it is like, which of the following are not correct? So we found all the 3 are incorrect. Easy question. Yes. Here one hint we got from PYQ. Second hint we got from PYQ. This is also a PYQ. So this 21 years is again mentioned in the PYQs. Do PYQs very regularly. Yes. Likewise. Then moving further. Yes. Next question. Consider the following statement about Lokpal. Here, the power of Lokpal applies to public servants of India, but not to the public servants posted outside India. Say for example, any foreign service officer, if he is posted outside India and if he commits corruption, Lokpal usme nahi aayega. Yes. So yeah, Lokpal will come. Yes. So it is a very basic common sense that if the public servant is from the government of India, obviously Lokpal comes, say, to guard him or bring him under accountability. When Prime Minister himself is coming. So friends, if you have remembered the Lokpal Act, so the Lokpal Act आपके आंखों के सामने नहीं आया था. It didn't come in front of your eyes, but Lokpal was enacted in front of our eyes. So we saw the agitation for Lokpal, Anna Hazare movement, all those. So in that the main debate was Prime Minister should be included in that. One Lokpal bill was brought by the Congress government, the then Manmohan Singh government, and it excluded Prime Minister from that. And again the community agitated, protested, बहुत दंगा हो गया था, so that Prime Minister should be included. Yes. So when Prime Minister is included, तो आप एक officer ही तो है, so you are just an officer. So this is against our common sense. So and it is against our legal system. So we can make it as a wrong statement. So it applies to everyone. And Lokpal bill says in general to all public servants serving government of India in any capacity. So that means a very broad meaning is given. So it is a wrong statement. Then chairperson or a member shall not be a member of parliament or a member of legislature of any state or union territory, and only the Chief Justice of India, whether incumbent or retired, has to be its chairperson. Only is the keyword you learnt while studying PYQs. Now cross check that with your knowledge. Knowledge के साथ cross check करना है. How to cross check? Say for example, now say whenever you read any document of appointment of any person, you take National Human Rights Commission ले लो, National Commission for Women you take. So whenever you read, you will feel that say the Chief Justice or judges of Supreme Court or any other eminent jurist, so that means any other expert in the field of corruption or legal issues of corruption, etc. So that eminent jurist is missing here. So what UPSC demands from you is just learn how the documents are written. Yes. Say for example, cigarette is prohibited here. So law को ऐसे लिखा जाता है, cigarette is prohibited. It is not written like I Modi will prohibit you from smoking. So the language in how the law is being written, so that is passive voice, or the language in which the law is written, it is written in such a way that there are no other controversies behind that clause. Yes. Likewise, what if only Chief Justice of India is written, and if that person is not willing to? So now again you cannot amend the act. So learn how the practicality happens inside the parliament, or how practicality happens inside our law, and apply your brain. So again, in that context, so this will go wrong. Only we got from guesswork and say the knowledge we got. Then third one, chairperson or a member shall not be person of less than 45 years of age on the date of assuming office as chairperson or member, as the case may be. So there is one criteria of age and we don't know, so we will keep. Yes, so but it is natural, 45 years is a good age to become Lokpal. It is not too less, not too more. Then Lokpal cannot inquire into allegations of corruption against sitting Prime Minister of India. He can. So all was for Lokpal, and all agitation of Anna Hazare, Arvind Kejriwal, all those were for, say, bringing Prime Minister into Lokpal. So again, this is wrong. In this, so this 45 years, so only happens to be correct, and we go with A. That is 3 only. Yes. So here a bit of knowledge is needed, but it is practical. इसको काटना नहीं कि 45 years कैसे. So what if it is 46 years? So when UPSC asks a wrong statement, it will give substantially a conceptual statement. So this was a conceptual statement, like whether Prime Minister is included or not, and it is a highly debated statement. Yes, likewise. Yes, and public servant outside is a commonsensical statement. So understand the demand of the question, and here 45 years sounds to be, say, practical. And even if you put none of the above, not at all an issue, because say you missed to some extent, and all failures are natural. It is human to err. If you don't make mistakes, you will become gods. Yes, and gods are the most controversial elements of this world compared to any human beings. So ज़्यादा perfect बने तो ज़्यादा controversial बन जाएंगे. Yes, नहीं बनना है. Done. Done. Consider the following statement with respect to pardoning power of president. ये पेवर नहीं, power है. ये chat GPT का है. Yes, power. Then the exercise of this power by president can be subjected to limited judicial review. The pardoning power of president being limited judicial review, the statement itself is saying I am very much practical. Limited तो हो सकता है, because wherever you find the judicial review कहाँ देख सकते हो. So judicial review you will see, say, whenever a governor suggests for presidential rule, or say any other thing for that matter, there the Supreme Court says judicial review is possible in terms of malified intentions. कि अगर president खुद malified intentions में कर रहा हो, so if he is doing with malified intention, judicial review should become, because he is, Supreme Court is the guardian of guardians. So if you have read that malified intentions in your Lakshmikant, you will get to know that the brain strikes that yes, malified intention में कर सकते हैं. So one guesswork we got limited. So limited तो हो ही सकता है. They are not asking complete judicial review. At the same time, they are also going for malified intentions from your knowledge. Limited comes from guesswork, and malified intentions come from knowledge. You can hit this. Then president can exercise the power without the advice of central government. So अब say now think, link to current affairs. When Pranab Mukherjee became president, so many people were given death sentence. Your Ajmal Kasab was given death sentence. Yes, so many people, they were given death sentence, and Pranab Mukherjee was called as a powerful president. Yes, but Pranab Mukherjee was not the powerful president at that point of time. Say Modi government had come, and Modi government was the powerful council of ministers who advised to give death penalties. Yes, so that means this pardoning power is not the discretionary power of president, and if you see, president has very least discretionary powers. Yes, and this pardoning power is not his discretionary power. So if you have any confusions regarding the clauses, so link it with the current affairs, link it with the current issues. Obviously, like you can get the answers from the examples. So you shall not by heart the things. Yes, he does by his own discretion or not by discretion. बैठ के रट्टा नहीं मारना है. It is only thing, it is link with examples. Give an example either to support or counter your thought process, and obviously half of the work would be done. Yes, likewise. So in this, without advice of CYM is wrong, limited judiciary, yes. Here the play is about the moderate sentence and the extreme sentence. वही तो खेल है. Yes, या खुद बोला जा रहा है भाई लिमिटेड हो सकता है कि नहीं, ज़बरदस्ती नहीं, हो ही नहीं सकता. So if you cut it down, you are the losers. Yes, don't infuse impracticality into this practical world. And here in this Yapuru Sudhakar case, we have seen like Supreme Court has laid down the criteria on which judicial review is possible for pardoning power of president. So here we can see the mollified intentions. So एक या दो काफ़ी है. Just learn one or two mollified intention, or if the order is passed without application of mind, अपना दिमाग नहीं लगाया और कुछ लगा दिया तो कर दिया, done. Then say with extraneous or irrelevant considerations or arbitrariness, ऐसा ही सही कर दिया. So all these, so you should know the knowledge of all these words. Supreme Court uses this again and again. So in all its judgment, in most of the cases, so just the memory of keywords. Then, so there are so many cases of Supreme Court on pardoning power. Maruram case, your Rajiv Gandhi assassinators case, so all those. Say Balwant Singh Rajona case, yes. So likewise, so not a difficult question again, but knowledge plus guesswork दोनों use करना है. Then consider the following statements. On the dissolution of the House of People, Speaker shall not vacate his or her office until immediately before the first meeting of the new House of People after the dissolution. So friends, here don't by heart imagine the things. Imagine करना है. कैसे imagine करना है? Say for example, how the procedure goes. Say Council of Ministers will fall down, or they will lose majority. Say now the new house is set up. When the new house is set up, the previous speaker, he will come and he will help in electing a pro tem speaker, and you will learn this concept pro tem speaker, say in your classes. And pro tem speaker, he will be the new speaker. Pro tem speaker will give the oath and affirmations for all the MPs. So he will read oaths and affirmations for all the MPs कि मैं कि बाहुबली MP बनने वाला हूँ, सब बोल देते हैं. So after that they will say elect a new speaker. Pro tem speaker will help in electing a new speaker. So for all these, so that continuity of the house should be there. Yes, likewise. So that say he will not vacate his office immediately is practically correct, because that is how the procedure goes. Imagine what happens inside the house. Don't by heart the things. And I suggest like see Lok Sabha TV, Rajya Sabha TV at least for 1 week, or say at least for 1 or 2 months. If you see, you will learn how they actually work. So you need not by heart. So ये लोक सभा राज्य सभा किताब में नहीं लिखा है, वो दिखता है. So how they speak, so that is being seen. Then according to provisions of Constitution of India, a member of the House of People on being elected as a speaker shall resign from his political party immediately. Again, it is not a conceptual question, it is not a factual question, sorry, it is hidden with the concept. So according to provisions of Constitution, there is nothing like he should resign from the political party. But in UK he has to resign. In UK the famous maxim goes, once a speaker always a speaker. Yes, he will resign from the party and he will become independent officer. So hence this is not present in our constitution but in UK's constitution. It is not a factual question, it is a conceptual question. We have to say learn, and it is not that you can miss it through overread. तो पढ़ते पढ़ते समय निकल गए, नहीं निकलता है. Yes, so you will read it at least for half an hour. Yes, likewise. Then Speaker of the House of People may be removed from his or her office by a resolution of the House passed by a majority of all the then members of the House, provided that no such resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. A बड़ा factual statement है. And now, two advantages UPSC has given to you. Cut down the second statement, you try for elimination, you will get the answer here. Yes, so obviously if second is wrong, you got the answer. And one more thing, say for example, you are coming across this, say majority of all the then members or 14 days notice. So it is just learn how naturally we have to say pass the resolution. So should I come tomorrow and immediately pass resolution to remove speaker? So it should be like give some notice. So 14 days is doable, and in most of the cases, so this 14 days notice is written repeatedly in the constitution, or you will read it in rules of procedures of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Yes, it is natural कि हो सकता है भाई, so आपको उड़ाने से पहले मैं उड़ा रहा हूँ, एक तो वार्निंग तो दे दें कि एटलीस्ट 4-5 मिनट्स की वार्निंग यू विल गिव, so else you will become terrorists कि ऐसा क्या उड़ा दिया. Yes, then also that majority of the then members of the house, so it is not majority of the persons present and voting. ऐसा नहीं कि like say you are opposition leader, you bring 10 MPs and pass resolution against speaker, the then members means सब आना चाहिए. If there are 545 members, everyone will come, everyone should come and vote, all the then members. Give importance to the keywords, ये then क्यों लिखा हुआ है, all the members लिख सकते थे. So identify and imagine the things what can happen inside the parliament. Yes, likewise. So I suggest for parliament related questions, a good experience of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha will help you write good answers in mains, and also you can make good questions in prelims correct. Then next one, if any question arises as to whether a member has become subject to disqualification under the 10th schedule, the President's decision in accordance with the opinion of Council of Ministers shall be final. Say again, apply common sense. If Council of Ministers decide the defection, so then the defection will be a common thing. So now Amit Shah will purchase say some 50 MPs and say he will ask President to give assent. So Modi को बोल देंगे कि भाई करवा दे. So like the power for deciding the disqualification is with always the speaker, head of the house. Yes, likewise the president will be something, a very conceptual thing, so which we can understand. Then there is no mention of word political party in the Constitution of India. A cabinet, so a political party, so earlier they weren't mentioned. Cabinet was introduced later with the help of an amendment. And two things, remember, it is like whatever the common words we use, they are not mentioned in the constitution, because constitution was made by lawyers. Yes, Ambedkar, so they were very learned people. Okay, that is why we cannot understand constitution that easily. So that is why most of our people, we don't follow law, क्योंकि पता ही नहीं है कि law क्या है. Yes, then second thing is that in our constitution we don't define several words. Lack of definition is one of the main drawback of Indian constitution. Many times UPSC has asked this word, if constitution defines the word tort, constitution defines the word office of profit, ऐसा कुछ, so constitution define नहीं करता है. The main drawback of constitution is it doesn't define many things. So there was one question in the previous year, like article 335 clause 5 defines something. So इधर article 335 clause 5 बात नहीं है. So you don't have to spend your brain like ये 335 की जगह 4 होता. So why not 334 and why 335? That is not your duty. See the word defines and learn that. Say the word defines is not given in the constitution, or constitution doesn't define many of the words. Yes, so hit it, you will get the answer. Again, easy question. So first one is wrong, second one is correct. Yes, now come to next. With reference to Indian polity, consider the following statement. Pura polity, earlier they used to ask with reference to Indian constitution. And one more thing, so UPSC repeatedly asks this question with reference to Indian constitution or according to Indian constitution. That is why I said PM Bakshi is a must when you read along with your say polity, PM Bakshi laga ke padna hai, because so when they say that according to constitution, so they are testing that whether something you know that what is written in the constitution and what is an explanation of that. Constitution में क्या लिखा है या सुप्रीम कोर्ट में क्या बोला गया है. So all these things are something which you have to be knowing. So you should not learn polity as a bookish thing. Yes, likewise. So ये party हो चुका है. Yes. Then according to Indian polity, consider the following. As I said, in this question take a cue. You shall keep PM Bakshi again. According to constitution, what is explicitly written in the constitution? Yes, sub. They are the common words of UPSC. Now, first one, an amendment, an ordinance can amend any central act. Ordinance is an act. Ordinance is an act. It can amend any central act. Ordinance can abridge a fundamental right. Say, even a constitutional amendment cannot abridge a fundamental right. Yes, so there are so many cases, basic structure, so Keshwanand Bharati, Farana, Dimkana, you have studied so many. Yes, I don't think this will be a very difficult question for you. Then an ordinance can come into effect from a back date. Say, yes, there are many instances that ordinance have come from the back date. Say for example, one ordinance for banning e-cigarettes, they have come from the back date. Yes, it is not like say, ab se ban hoga. It is that if it is banned, so that e-cigarettes which have been produced in the back date, they are also banned. ऐसा नहीं कि तो सर ये स्टॉक है निकाल लेंगे, नहीं. Even if there is stock in the godown, cut it down because e-cigarette is bad. So e-cigarette was banned with an ordinance and that came from the back date. Yes, likewise. And so it is not new that we have done many things from the back date. You might have heard one concept called retrospective taxation. तो एक वोडाफोन का एक केस था बिजनेस डीलिंग करने में गवर्नमेंट ने, सो दे पुट रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव टैक्सेशन फ्रॉम द बैक डेट. सो इन द प्रीवियस टाइम्स यू डिड समथिंग, आई एम अप्लाइंग टैक्स ऑन दैट. वोडाफोन भाग गए इंडिया से. वोडाफोन फाउंडर सेड आई विल नेवर स्पेंड इवन सिंगल रुपी ऑन इंडिया. यस, सो वी हैव गुड हिस्ट्री ऑफ से retrospective things, so that means we can do this. So our answer again goes with 1 and 3 only. So learn from examples. So this is something is not given in your Lakshmikant or any other books, but with examples you can hit them. Good knowledge of current affairs. Read Hindu at least to some extent. थोड़ा तो Hindu पढ़ना चाहिए. Yes, Hindi भी पढ़ना है. Hindi is also a good language. All languages are good. So read the Hindu or Indian Express. Have a good touch of current affairs. That is very much essential. Then some factual questions have been given here. We'll see. Match the following. Arunachal Pradesh, the capital is named after a fort and the state has 2 national parks. So being factual, the capital of Arunachal Pradesh is Itanagar and it is named after Ita Fort. So here you can see the Ita Fort, so on the basis of which it is named. And it has 2 national parks, Mauling National Park and Namdapha National Park. Namdapha, whatever you can pronounce. So Naam alag hai, Bhagwan ek hai. Yes. Nagaland, the state came into existence on the basis of Constitutional Amendment Act. On 13th Constitutional Amendment Act, it came into existence. Tripura, initially a Part C state, it became a centrally administered territory with a reorganization of states in 1956 and later attained the status of full-fledged state. Friends, most of the northeastern states, they were brought out from Assam and they were made of full-fledged state. And at the same time here, so ये Part C क्या है? So during independence or in our interim government, we classified the states into Part A, Part B and Part C. So that your history teacher will teach very well. Part A is your British provinces, Part B is your princely states, and Part C were called Chief Commissioner provinces. Chief Commissioners provinces means neither they are being ruled by British nor by kings, beech mein. So some settlement was being done. So Chief Commissioner or Lieutenant Governor, he used to rule them. Yes. So all the 3 are correct. A factual question. And say if you have knowledge and learnt thoroughly, you will attempt them. So if not, even if you leave this question, nothing heaven is going to fall, because there are so many keywords hidden here. Here 2 की जगह 3 हो जाता. So one more national park would have been added. You will say lose one attempt, so पूरा साल prelims के लिए पढ़ना पड़ता है. Yes, done. Then next question with reference to India, consider the following: Interstate Council, the National Security Council, zonal councils, which of them have been established as per the provisions of Constitution? Constitution में साफ लिखा है. So which article is doing what? So see, like, so these organizations are established under which article? So Interstate Council is established under Article 263. Yes, so if you go and read PM Bakshi, it is very clearly written there. The National Security Council, friends, what is a National Security Council? It is an advisory body for the foreign minister, Minister of External Affairs. Sorry, it is for the whole Council of Ministers. It does. So, like, it is an advisory body. So this advisory body need not be your constitutional. It need not be statutory also. Say for example, we have Financial Advisory Council for Finance Minister, or we have, say, Defense Advisory Council for Defense Minister. Likewise, say this National Security Council was established for the first time for Vajpayee government. He did it, and Brijesh Mishra was the first, say, National Security Council chairperson or the National Security Advisor. So now Ajit Doval, whoever, say, we have great respect for the delegacy, and it is neither, say, written in the Constitution nor in the statutes. It is just an administrative body set up. So tomorrow if Modi says, like, I don't want the security, this one, the Security Council, he can do away. Then zonal councils are established under the State Reorganization Act. Saaf likha hua hai in Lakshmikant. So very easy fact. So we will go with one only. Yes, so only one. A will be our answer. Then, so here you can see Article 263. Either you can see the website or you can see PM Bakshi. Then Constitution of India explicitly mentions that, again explicit, explicit. So UPSC has the area where it feels itself as an important and concentrate on those importance. Say friends, there are some people who will clear all exams. Say IIT भी बन गए, IIM भी बन गए, IAS भी निकाल लिया, तो हम सारा प्रीलिम्स निकल के लिए मर रहा है. Yes, so why we say struggle? Because we don't know the demand of exam. Yes, say for example, if one article number came, so last year there was the question on articles and parts. Part 9A speaks about municipality. So now you will keep all the parts and start by hearting. So say it is only asked because people think that part 9A is panchayat and part 9B is municipality. It is not so. Part 9 is panchayat, part 9A is municipality. So say there is something trap hidden or something conceptual hidden. That is why the question is being asked. So Constitution of India explicitly mentions that certain spheres of governor of a state has their own discretionary powers. It is never written, because most of the governor's discretion powers are, say, situational in nature. So situational matlab kya hai? So now say for example, in one state no one achieved majority, no party achieved majority, na Congress ko mila, na BJP ko mila. So now governor takes the discretion, and that is not mentioned in the Constitution. So that explicit word will give me the guesswork, and the knowledge says this is wrong. Then President of India can, of his or her own, reserve a bill passed by a state legislature for his or her consideration without being forwarded by the governor of the state concerned. So again go for practicality. Say, who is a governor? Governor is actually a subordinate officer appointed by the president to look after that state. Yes, so you are a provincial head. So I am the king, you are a provincial head. Yes, so now if I want any bill to be referred to me, so without asking governor, why should I do that? So if I ask governor, वो 2 minutes में कर देता, yes sir, कर दूंगा. And most of the governors you see in the newspaper, they are highly affiliated to the central government because they are the central party workers. Your R.N. Ravi, Tamil Nadu governor, is a party worker. Yes, BJP party worker. Or Jagdeep Dhankar, West Bengal Vice President, currently Vice President and former Governor of West Bengal, he is a party worker BJP में, तो party high command बोलेगा तो करेंगे. Yes, so there is no need of president to overpower or to bypass governor and say reserve one state legislature or state bill for his assent. He will do it readily. And so there is nothing as such written in the constitution that he can do on his own. Yes, likewise. Say this is a hypothetical statement which doesn't happen in the grounds. So to that extent, say this one and reserving the bill, both of them will go wrong. Say if you learn how the situation happens inside the administrative bodies or between the administrative bodies, it will be very easy for you to say crack the questions. Else you have to by heart everything, which would be difficult. Yes, likewise. Then consider the following pairs. Again, one match the following: separation of judiciary from executive in public services of the state. So separation of executive and judiciary is a directive principle, Article 50, I guess. Then valuing and preserving the rich heritage of our culture, it is our fundamental duty. And prohibition of employment of child labor below age of 14 years, fundamental rights, Article 24. So say if all are correctly matched, a very dead easy question. So deep discussion into this is humiliating UPSC. Yes, it's a easy question you cannot expect in UPSC. Yes, likewise. A very easy question, don't worry. Any basic knowledge, you will get it correct. Then with reference to Constitution of India, if an area in the state is declared as scheduled area under 5th schedule, so what happens? So now here we have to remember what is 5th schedule. 5th schedule means, friends, here it is a state, and in that state a part of tribal people, a part of the state are tribal people, a part of the state are tribal people. So this is a state and a part is tribal people. And now it is like, say these are tribal areas, I cannot apply the rules and regulations what I apply for the other areas to this area. I have to be careful. So when we are being careful, so it is like the governor and the president here in the center, the state center, so both will be overseeing them. So agar kuch gadbad na ho, yes, so they have some autonomy given, but monitoring is always there. Yes, likewise. And say now governor is present at the state and he has one tribal advisory council at the state level, and this tribal advisory council comes from your Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So tribal minister, he will be heading that, and for anything monitoring or governing this area, he will take the advice of tribal advisory council. That means kuch to monitoring have. So you are monitoring to some extent, say what is going on in that area. Yes, now with reference to scheduled area, we will see what is happening. The state government loses its executive power in such areas and a local body assumes total administration. So this is wrong. Say if you leave it for themselves, so they will fight each other and die. That is what happening in Manipur. So cookies and zoomies, so they are being fighting because like too much autonomy, so that will lead to anarchy again. So some monitoring will be there. So this is against the ethics of scheduled area what we discussed. Scheduled area is monitored, although autonomy is given, it is monitored because so there will be no egregious things or mishaps happening there. There will not be civil wars or violence erupting, because tribals have their own cultures which can go against the current legal culture of India or the world. Say for example Konyak tribes. Konyak एक नाम का tribes है Konyak. So their hobby is head hunting. कि कोई सुंदर आदमी दिख गया तो काट के लाओ उसको सर को, कि put it as a show piece in your home. Yes, that is not as per our legal structure. कि तो सड़क में जाते हुए कोई किसी सुंदर दिख गया तो काट के लेके जाए. So that will not be applicable. So to avoid such things, we have to go for say some monitoring. Now the state government loses his executive power is wrong, and total assumption of administration is again wrong. Then the union government can take over the total administration of such area under certain circumstances. If something mishap happens, I can do that. Say now, we discuss this is a state and this is a tribal area. If center decides, it can take the control of the whole state. ये तो tribal area ही तो है. Yes. So if I am deciding that I should take the control, I will impose Article 356 and take a presidential rule and will rule as such. So why there is a need that, so I will go and request the tribal people कि भाई administration दे दे. तो क्या है देने? So they can take the control if something mishap happens. Second statement is practical, first statement is impractical. Learn the concept behind the fifth schedule and sixth schedule. ये क्यों करना है ये सब? Yes, likewise, don't by heart the things. So these are some of the states with fifth schedule areas. अब पूरा state में tribal नहीं है. Some parts of the states have tribal people, and that is why they have been administering in a bit concessional way. तो थोड़ा separately rules and regulation बना हुआ है. Yes, likewise. Yes, so here the executive power of center and state for fifth schedule areas. The executive power of the center extends to giving directions to the state regarding administration of such areas. That means they can give directions. अगर direction follow नहीं करा हो, I will take over that administration. Yes, teacher will give you direction. So he will ask you, then he will request you, then he will order you. So when order comes, so you have no obligations. Then with reference to India, consider the following. The National Automotive Board, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, the COIR Board, Ministry of Heavy Industries, the National Center for Trade Information, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Whenever any scheme comes, whenever you come across any body, I suggest see the ministry first. By chance आपने नहीं करा है, तो nothing heaven or hell is going to fall. COIR, what is COIR? COIR is a coconut husk. Yes, जो coconut husk से वो निकलता है fiber. So why COIR will come under heavy industries? उतना कौन सा heavy होता है कि COIR? Why should cotton come under heavy industries? Yes. So mostly automobile can come under heavy industries, and this COIR board might be something else. And National Center for Trade Information. So where is trade? So trade is here in the commerce. Yes, so that means here the COIR board is the COIR board is associated with the micro and small enterprises, and this is associated here and this with here. So all the three are interchanged. So none of them are correct. Like there was one question, friends. It was on your coffee board. So under which ministry? कॉफ़ी है तो एग्रीकल्चर खेती होता है उसमें, तो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर फार्मर वेलफेयर गलत है. सो ऑल फूड क्रॉप्स आर मैनेज्ड बाय मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर एंड फार्मर वेलफेयर, but the cash crops are monitored by Ministry of Commerce and Industries. So you have to learn how the administration setup is being done. Yes, likewise. And coming to current affairs, if you have good knowledge of current affairs, COIR board में कुछ issue हुआ था. Say one person under secretary, he was say booked under some harassment. So that is why COIR board was in news. So how UPSC picks up the question? If you have seen somewhere, if you have heard somewhere, so like UPSC picks up, how much do you know about that? So आपका preparation कितना serious है कि आपने एक सुन लिया तो you learned from that, you learned and researched on that. Okay, ऐसे. Yes, likewise. Done. Now list 1, union list in the 7th schedule. Extent of executive power of a state, condition of governor's office. For a constitutional amendment with respect to which of the above, ratification by the legislatures of not less than one half of the state, that means half of the states should ratify. Ratification is with what? Say ratification is with those where the states are concerned. अगर states को concern ही नहीं है तो why they should ratify? Now in the 7th schedule, so list 1 union list. Say for example friends, now union list है, यूनियन लिस्ट में मैंने एक स्टेट लिस्ट से उठा के यूनियन लिस्ट में डाल रहा हूँ, so that means states are losing something. Say for example GST, so states lost the power of say levying tax with the GST, so that amendment ratification of states needed. Then extent of the executive power of a state. Yes, so executive power, the state's executive power if you are removing, so that means states are usually concerned. Then conditions of the governor's office. Friends, first, governor's office is mostly a subordinate office to president, and if you have learned, जब Modi government came to power in 2015, some 7 governors were removed from office with one phone call. एक phone call में हटा दिया कि भाई कल से ऑफिस मत आइयो, है कौन बोल रहा है, तो अमित शाह के ऑफिस में से बोल रहा हूँ. Yes, so the secretary of home minister, he removed governors from one single phone call. Yes, that is how governor's office is not concerned with the state, it is only concerned with the center and center alone, and center can put anyone as a governor, and wantedly they will put say their party workers as governors. Yes, likewise. So this conditions of governor's office is a farce. If you know what the actual governor's office is, it is just a center's agent in books, and it is central ruling party's agent in truth. Likewise, so here are some of the criteria why the state ratification is needed, that is election of president. Friends, for election of president, MLAs are also part of electoral college. Likewise, Supreme Court, High Court, distribution of legislative powers, distribution of executive powers. Lakshmikant में इतना ही लिखा है. So but you will learn the additional by learning the exact office of governor, how they are appointed. So tomorrow if Modi says इसको कर दो, and if he suggests Draupadi Murmu madam, so they will appoint. That's it. ज़्यादा complicated नहीं है with respect to governor. Then, with reference to Indian polity, consider the following statements. The governor of a state is not answerable to any court for the exercise and performance of the powers and duties of his or her office. Yes. So obviously this is a verbatim from Constitution and Lakshmikant, that the governor is not answerable to anything. So हर फाइल को के साइन करते हुए सुप्रीम कोर्ट कैनॉट कम एंड आस्क व्हाई, हट, तो हर काम को उंगली करते. No criminal proceedings shall be instituted or continued against governor during his or her term of office. Yes, it applies for both criminal and civil cases. During term of office, no. During serious criminal cases, you will give a notice, remove him, and then put a charge sheet, whatever. Members of state legislature are not liable to any proceedings in any court in respect of anything said or any vote given in the house. This is also written. It is one of the parliamentary privileges. Yes, if I am a member of legislative assembly or Lok Sabha, I have a privilege like, so I can speak my voice. तो बोलने के लिए तो भेजा है, so चुप बैठ के सोने के लिए नहीं. तो असेंबली स्टार्ट होके 10 मिनट हो गया, तो अब एमपी का कर रहा है, नहीं, ये सब करने के लिए नहीं भेजा हुआ है. So it is only that, so you will speak your brain. Democracy is voice. Democracy is voice first, vote next. अगर आपके पास voice है, so that gets converted into vote. If you are able to speak properly, you can convert 100 people to your side. Yes, so that voice cannot be taken down. Yes, so all the statements are correct. They are verbatim, very easy questions in Lakshmikant. I have taken so all them verbatim with article numbers. Yes, governor shall not be answerable to any court. No criminal proceedings can be taken up, and the freedom of speech inside the house. Yes, so these are the topics and very easy questions. Apart from that, Arunachal and other 2 to 3, so you can get all of them correct. Yes, so take full bounty from polity, don't neglect this, and be argumentative. Yes, so all the best from my side. Have a nice life. Good luck friends.